Oh, this ain't going public. Okay, cool. Do anything, yeah. May harm your defence. There is something you may later rely on in court. Yeah, no worries. Okay. Yeah, no worries. I'll talk. Yada, 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 yada. I'll just chat things into the camera. Hopefully it gets picked up okay, and we'll see how it goes. Da 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 da. 1 2 1 2 1 2 2 2 2 2 2 2. A very good evening and welcome to the live lounge here in Portsmouth. It's finals night here at the MODUS Super Series, where by the end of play this evening, we'll be indicting our 9th name into the Champions League Wall of Honor. Chris Mason is alongside me up here on the balcony to look ahead to the action that we're going to see this evening. Before we do that, let's look back at the week in general and by the numbers, Chris, because what we have seen from the 6 finalists that we've seen so far this week, we've seen some good performances from some, but then also at times players who've had to go to the well and then had to dig in.
Yeah, I thought Henderson was rock solid all week. Pretty much averaged 88 across each day of Group A. I thought I thought Neil Duff at times really had to dig deeper across Group C. And I thought Lukas Wenig as well. He's shown. Standout player for me, though, when we talk about ceiling, has been Reece Gilliland.
Indeed, most certainly. I suppose the highlight of the week, as you saw in that graphic there, was the 170 from Darren Johnson, and he did it to win a match.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we very nearly had a 9 from Reece Colley, who's also shown he's got a high ceiling as well. Everybody's contributed to some top quality darts throughout the week.
Let's have a quick check then of the groups that have in play then this evening at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. We're going to see John Henderson, Lukas Wenig and Chris Gilliland in Group 1. Whilst for Group 2, it's going to see Neil Duff, Darren Johnson and Reece Colley in action. I mentioned it up on the balcony with Matthew Edgar last night that Group 1 looks absolutely gruesome.
Yeah, that's a real tough group. That's one you don't want to be in. The other group, by far the easier. However, it also comes with its risk. But yeah, that Group 1 is a shock. Well, it's great for us and great for the viewers, but not for the players.
I mean, in the case of John Henderson and Lukas Wenig, who we're going to see in a couple of seconds' time, these are two players that not long ago had graced Euro Tour stages. Yeah,
exactly. And John Henderson only just coming off the back of losing his tour card, and he's fairly adamant he's going to get it back. And some of the stuff we've seen from him this week, you think he will be back. And Lukas Wenig is definitely going to be a tour card holder at some point.
As for John Henderson, he's got experience of winning a week here at the Super Series. He did it in week 12 of the last series. Can that stand him in good stead tonight?
Yeah, I think so. We've seen the same with Matt Clark, haven't we? When you've had success here, winning breeds winning. And once you get used to the environment, there's no shocks or no surprises. You just got to go up there, do the business, play to the best of your ability, and hopefully it's good enough.
So then, game 1 of our evening sees John Henderson in action against Lukas Wenig. It's not a bad way to start.
Yeah, it's a toughie and very much a coin flip. Both of them have played at similar levels. One thing we've noticed with Lukas, though, is he's tended to fade towards the back end. Of course, doesn't have to play as much darts tonight. It's relatively comfortable in comparison to playing in those big, long groups where you're playing 15 matches. And for him, of course, he's played 24 matches already this week, but looks fresh tonight.
He most certainly does. Well, we've made the players wait long enough, so let's get into the action then. It's Saturday night at the Darts, courtesy of the MODUS Super Series, and we're going to kick things off with the game between John Henderson and Lukas Wenig. Chris Mason's going to get his steps in, and he's going to join Matthew Edgar in the commentary box. Hello, Matt.
Good evening. Welcome to finals night, week 9. Ninth player will be through to our grand finals in a couple of weeks' time. We're kicking off with a heavyweight tussle here between John Henderson and Lukas Wenig, two people that could be playing these sort of matches in any arena in the world. We've just heard from Henry say that the both of them have recently played in European tours, but we'll also see these two taking part in a lot of pro tours at the moment. Lukas Wenig very recently taking part
first flag is John
in Players' Championships number 7 and 8, where he did pick up a sizable victory against Simon Whitlock. John Henderson, we expect to see getting quite a lot of Pro Tour invites due to the fact that he is top of the Challenge Tour Order of Merit.
Yes, which of course puts him first on the reserve list, and we already know of a few players that aren't travelling currently, in Corey Cadby being one of them, and Perez being the other. Both struggling with getting their visas by all accounts.
100.
So pretty much, if he stays at the top of the Challenge Tour, well, could earn his tour card back via that.
I like to call it the golden ticket when you're top of that Challenge Tour,
45.
because it means that you can play all those Challenge Tour events, you can go do the ADCs, you'll get Pro Tour call-ups, you can try qualify for the European Tours, which we've already seen him in one of them, and he has qualified for European Tour number 5 as
60.
well.
Yeah, him and Andy Bolton are travelling as associate members, aren't they?
Yeah, there's opportunities galore when you're outside that tour card position. If he can stay top of the Challenge Tour, like you mentioned, there's players that won't be attending the Pro Tours. He'll be getting Pro Tour call-ups all year. It'll be probably the most busy year John Henderson's ever had in his darting life.
Yeah, I think he did an interview with Abby earlier in the week where he said he's never played as much darts. There's been some start to the match. 140 ton, 6140.
121.
61 after 12. 61. A possible 14 darter. Priority, of course, winning the leg. Oh, I love that.
Game shot on the first leg.
A 14
John
darter.
Henderson.
Lukas, of course, himself played in Group A, so he'll be well aware of the quality of John Henderson.
Game on.
Well, you talk about the quality of John Henderson, and we can see that just by looking at the 12-month running averages of everything. So, Seniors Tour, Pro Tour, Challenge Tour, anything that's recorded as an average is all collaborated, and we can take that.
140.
And when we look at that 12-month average of everything combined, John Henderson is number 74 in the world, according to running averages, just shy of a 91 over the last 12 months.
100.
That's going to win you a lot of games, certainly down here at the Super Series. You're going to be winning weeks.
Yeah, and if you take out a few of the stinkers he's had, because he seemed to have had one real poor game on each of the 3 days of Group A,
100.
but if you sort of took them out of the equation, he wouldn't be far off that 91, would he?
Well, even with those couple of howlers, he's still a very high, strong 88 for 95. The week, and that's over 15 matches. So
yeah, and that's throwing in a 73, and there's another one around that kind of number, wasn't there?
There's not really a lot of variable in the
81.
John Henderson game, which is why he's had such a long, successful career that he has.
We call it playing to type.
140.
The difference between these two, their ceilings are not too far apart. But most definitely when you talk about
95.
consistency and reliability,
76.
and Henderson, the superior player. Of course, this is just a best-of-7 race. First
Game
to
shot
four.
on the second leg.
There's a perfect
Lukas
example of
Wenig.
that, because that's a 14 darter and a 2 dart combination shot. It was the 61 in leg 1 for Hendo, 76 for Lukas Wenig
The leg John to throw first. Game on.
in leg 2.
I like to use a stat I call the range, which is when I take a player's best performance and their worst
93.
performance to see what the difference is between the two. And ideally, we want the range to be as small a number as possible, because that means consistency. And when we talk about Lukas Wenig, when we look at that range number, it backs up what you're saying. The range is 19.5 points for Lukas Wenig. He's had a high of a 99.42, but a low of an 80.16.
180.
Super reply.
I think 180s are something
57.
we can safely say we expected from John Henderson. He hit 21 of them across his 3 days of play in Group A. Lukas Wenig, though, in Group B,
94.
he ate himself, so I'm not surprised to see that plus 1.5 busted quite early on in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Was rather low for these two. It's a
55.
bit
John Newcar 134. $26.
John Henderson berating himself there. Given Lukas an opportunity, but at least one trouble needed, you feel.
99. John Newcar 108.
John actually nursing a bit of an injury
77.
to his
Lukas Newcar
ankle
110.
at the moment. In a fair bit of pain. Adrenaline should get him through.
You tend to only feel
50.
the pain
John
when
Newcar
things
31.
don't go right. When things are going right, you can sort of ignore it and concentrate on what you're doing, but you become more aware of things when things aren't going right. I don't think that was a dart at the 19. That was an attempt at the 7, the double 12, and the fact that he's got to check the score further confirms This was not the intended plan for John Henderson. But it is double six. A nice double this for a right-hander. Down to the bottom of the board, you can see from his
25.
face, you don't need to look at the dartboard itself.
60.
The face will tell you.
20 and tops for a break opportunity. I'm sure Lukas didn't think
Game shot on the
it's going to
third
come his
leg.
way.
Lukas Wenig.
Well, yet to miss a dart at a double. And that's the break of throw he needed to win this match. Remember, it's 2 groups of 3.
Fourth leg, Lukas
And
to
if you
third
lose your
first.
opening
Game
match, you're in a whole world of trouble.
We have been teased to a couple of 9-darters so far this week.
Yeah, we've gone 6 deep a few times, but Reece Colley went 8 deep, didn't he?
81.
Missed the double 12. It did go out in 10 darts in the end, and that was to win the match. Reece Colley has qualified tonight. Won Group B, so you'll see him coming up in a couple of games' time.
41.
I'm just going back to that face of John Henderson. That was meme-erific, that one. That's going to be one that will probably get cut up on the social medias. And
78.
what do you think of this? And then people will put it up when they've got a negative reaction to something.
Well, someone sent me a picture that I'm sure that's going to be memed, and that was
44.
our very own George Noble in the traditional German attire. I thought he looked champion, personally.
Yeah, we've all had a little giggle at that one this evening, haven't we?
140.
I did see Gabriel Clemens as well in the traditional clothing on Instagram this morning.
96.
Certainly didn't expect to see George Noble in it, though.
Would you have got yourself in the gear if you was over there?
Oof. There'd have to have been a few quid involved, let's put it that way.
Lukas Wenig, 140.
It doesn't go away, those pictures nowadays, do they?
There's a few quid in everything for you, even going out of bed. Called him
30.
on the
John
phone
Lukas,
earlier on today, and it was
74.
like ringing the taxi. You put the meter on.
And 20 and tops. The break straight back.
34. Lukas Wenig, 110.
He has only hit 1 ton plus finish over the last couple of days. That was a massive 146. This would be even bigger in the context of the match and
John
ultimately
Lukas,
the week,
40.
because there's not as much recovery time in a Saturday night that you find on a
Game shot
Monday
on the
to
fourth
Friday.
leg. John
But that is a good
Henderson.
recovery from John Henderson, who gets back the advantage of throw after being broken.
Oh, sorry, Matt. It was just too many troublous visits. Lukas hit a 180 in the leg and had throw,
Game on.
and didn't get a dart at the double to win the leg.
Well, I think this is when you dig deeper into the numbers, actually, and you look at
100.
Lukas Wenig as Thursday night averaged 90.04, then he averaged 91.89. So overall, a 91 average with not much range between the 2 days.
140.
But performance by performance, the range was quite big. So if we take, for example, his average of a 99, we'd expect him to win. If we take his average of an 80, we'd expect him to lose.
99.
So out of those 2 fixtures, you can only win one of them with that performance, where if he levelled that off an average 290 performances, he could potentially win both. And that there might
57.
be one of the reasons why he's not got that tour card yet, because just falls that level of performance at the wrong time.
Yeah, and it's something that we refer to
174.
all the time as the B game, which you tend to find a lot of the players that don't have tour cards have either lost that ability to find that 90-odd comfortably,
100. John
or
Lukas,
when they're not at their best.
128.
I will also add to that, though, I do expect him to come up with a solution. I do think he will be a tour card holder. I agree with what you guys said
Yep.
up on the balcony.
68.
Oh, sloppy. I think he was just so careful to not hit the treble 20 that he's ended up nearly off hitting the N in the Winmore at the top of the board.
100. John Lukas, 60.
Which, if this was a game of half it, would probably have just protected his points.
Problem with the 20 this time, but it's a little high.
Game shot on the fifth leg.
Last start.
John
Beautiful
Henderson.
leg, a 15-dart hold. Back-to-back legs for Hendo. It's been a good response after going 2-1 behind.
Six leg Lukas to
He's
throw
averaging
first. Game on.
96.56. 3 out of 8 on the doubles. You'll be fairly happy if you
96.
can maintain this level and go on to win the match.
Nice little crowd in here this evening as well. Already hearing some
95.
support for John Henderson. He's always popular wherever he goes, isn't he, John
Yeah.
Henderson?
Real likeable fella. Don't forget, if you want to join us here on a Saturday night,
133.
if you're joining us for the first time, this is my magic button. You can scan that with your phone, apparently, and it'll tell you all the details you need to know.
80.
I'll leave it up there a little longer. I will put it up a little bit later. I'll give you some notice so you can get your phone ready for whatever you've got to do with it. Apparently, it's a QR code. Fascinating stuff. Don't have that on me Nokia.
65.
I believe Reece Colley's got a little bit of support here where people have been
Yes.
scanning that QR code. They've took the long journey down from Dudley.
If you're not au fait with
57.
the technology that I'm referring to, head over to www.dartshop.tv. All the details of how you can join us here on a Saturday night available there. Just have to reserve
60.
your ticket. I think it's just a £1 booking fee, just to ensure that you show up.
59. Lukas Wenig 147.
Is there a debate? What's harder, a 9-dart or a 147? Not sure it's the same 147, but I'm not going to open that can of
59.
worms, actually. It always gets messy. Certainly like our interaction with social media on the MODUS Super Series, but that's a conversation there is no winners of, isn't it?
They're both amazing to watch, and
Lukas
they're both
Wenig,
incredibly
88.
difficult to do. Speaking of social media, get in touch with us at MSS Darts on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, whatever that is. And if you want to interact with us
22.
this evening,
John
you can
Lukas,
actually
72.
contact Matt direct on Instagram.
Game shot on the mat.
Well, he's been
John
here before on a
Henderson.
Saturday night. He has won on a Saturday night, and that's the perfect start for John Henderson if he is going to do that again. A very polished performance of a 94.03. He managed to resist an early breaker throw from Lukas Wenig and the 2 from 2 on the doubles. But the problem for Lukas was getting down there because Hendo was on form. Coming up next, we've got Neil Duff taking on Darren Johnson.
Joe Taylor, Garrett Tilly, and board 2, Craig Nixon, Roy Young.
And as a part of the ADC circuit, you could qualify yourself for the MODUS Super Series and maybe even be here on a Saturday night playing in front of this crowd in Portsmouth. And we did see a very good day of action at the ADC Open Series earlier on. We send our congratulations to James Richardson and Lewis Gurney for winning the first 2 events of the Open Series in 2023. And by doing that, they have confirmed their spots here at the MODUS Super Series for Series 4, which begins begins on May the 8th. So many congratulations to the pair. We're actually going to see James in action here next week. So a very good preparation for his Series 3 campaign. That is for sure. Well, here at the Live Lounge, we just completed our first game of the night, where John Henderson rounded off 3 legs on the spin to get the better of Lukas Wenig by 4 legs to 2. Now, that's the first game of Group 1. We're going to park that aside for a second. We're going to skirt over to Group 2 and see the beginning of that. It's going to see Neil Duff in action. He is the reigning WDF World Champion, a man who's had so many close calls when it's come to the Super Series on a Saturday night. In Series 2, made his semi-final and made a final in his 2 appearances. He is hoping to get one step further this time. He takes on Darren Johnson, who is a part of the field at the World Seniors Championship at the Circus Tavern in February, and it's his 2nd consecutive appearance when it's come to a Saturday night final. Well, I think we're all set for the action to get underway here in Group 2, so let's hand over to our commentary team of Chris Mason and Matthew Edgar.
Thank you, Henry. Yeah, the game's coming thick and fast. This one features this man, Darren Johnson, who didn't really, barring the 170 he hit in Group B, never really found the kind of level you would think he'll need to find to win this tonight, Matt.
He's been around long enough that we can say he's going to be able to find that at some point, but you don't have long in these groups. You've got 2 games. You've got to get out the traps very quickly. And if we take his sample of averages over the 2 days of play that he's had, he was actually the lowest average of anyone who's qualified. And when we break this down into blocks of 3 darts rather than averages, he's a visit behind the rest of the field here tonight. Also, when we look at the performance of the players in Group B, out of the 3 bottom averages, he produced 2 of them. So he does need to find a little bit more than he has shown so far, but the big key important thing is he's got the opportunity to do so, because he's earned that right by having such a high checkout percentage of nearly 41%.
Yeah, and that's what's kept him in it.
100.
Neil Duff had to go through the gears in Group C, produce some top draw stuff at times. Lots of 180s.
15 180s in his Group C campaign. It was the most of anybody over Thursday and Friday. But most staggering thing about Neil Duff's
100.
stats, and I have never seen this before. So he played 5 games on Thursday. He averaged 87.91. He played 5 games on Friday
95.
and averaged 87.91. I have never seen it to the exact decimal point, 2 different days of matches. I mean, you'd say that's impossible because...
Well, the variables involved is staggering, but what it tells me is that those kind of numbers, they're on par with John Henderson, which is
100.
His average was pretty much, pretty much around that number for his 3 days in Group A.
They're on par with John Henderson, they're on par with Reece Colley, but they are not as good
85.
as Chris Gilliland.
167.
No. More about that when we see Chris Gilliland, who will be following
60.
this match.
He'll
be playing Lukas Wenig, and a win there for Chris takes him through. And John Henderson.
36. Neil 107.
He does lead this 107 quite a bit as well, which probably down to the way he switches around the board 55. And the patterns of play that he plays.
40.
Yeah, his general approach.
Game shot on the first leg. Darren Johnson.
Instantly getting a breaker throw in 16. Yeah, just before our last match, you did say if you want to contact us direct, you can on Twitter. What's your
game on
handle on Twitter?
Yeah, just chuck in at the Edgar 501 and it'll pop up on my screen here. We can have a chat with you across the airways.
140.
Let us know who you think's going to win this evening. I'm pretty torn. I do normally like to big and bold,
100.
but this week is quite a tricky one to do so. you look at the groups and you say the
45.
9-1 outsider actually won one of the groups, which was Reece Colley, just sort of shows you the difficulty we've got here as pundits this evening to try and predict a winner.
140.
Well, we've seen Chris Gilliland popping back-to-back 104-plus averages. Yeah, on Wednesday,
81.
not win a game. Neil struggled in Group A, so much so that
95.
he finished in 5th place, found himself in the very tough Group C.
We discussed this week as well, didn't we, about
105.
Neil Duff and the weight of winning something as prestigious as Lakeside and the scrutiny that will go with that.
78. Daniel
When
Carr,
you do have that title of a
130.
world champion, you are going to get people scrutinise and essentially look for issues with that. And I'll just pause for a second. It's Darren Johnson on a
Game shot on
130.
the second
I said
leg.
that was his
Darren
strength,
Johnson.
and he just provides us with a big 130 finisher. It's 2 from 3 on the doubles, and this is the raising performance that we expected or needed to see from
Third
Darren
leg, Neil
Johnson
to third
coming into
first.
this
Game
one.
on.
But going back to that point about Neil Duff, when I looked at the range, this is why I think
100.
he'll split opinion amongst people that watched and follow darts. Top end, we've seen him average 99.40, and I will also mention that that was at the most crucial time in context
39.
for qualifying through to Saturday night, but we've also seen him average a 70.95. The range difference there is 29.5 points. That is just
100.
over a sample of 8 matches. So it depends, because you're giving everybody the answer. You're giving the people that are backing him the chance to say, yeah, I averaged nearly a ton at the right time,
121.
but you're also opening the door for that scrutiny by throwing in the 70.
Yeah, absolutely.
100.
That range is something that needs to be reduced for, well, a lot of players with ambition of getting tour cards or winning
140.
a Lakeside or an ADC.
Well, that is the difference between the levels. That range number. What is the high number? What is the low number over a
100.
sample of matches? The smaller that is, the more consistent and the more likely they will be the tour card holders.
Yeah, for example, just go and have a look at Gezi Price this year
139.
and
Neil Carr,
have a look at
101.
how small the range is.
There's been a spot of bother here
Daniel Carr,
because
62.
this is the strength of Darren Johnson. And this is for a double breaker throw. He should get a dart at the double. It's going to be at tops.
22. Neil Carr,
Neil
8.
Duff has dodged a massive bullet there if he can convert the double 4, because even if you do lose, you only want to lose by the odd leg. Because if you get done 4-0, it's pretty
4.
much
Darren Carr,
done and dusted.
40.
Yeah, if Neil Duff was a ship in the water, he'd be sending up the flares right now.
Game
He's
shot
not
of the
just in
third
a
leg.
spot of bother.
Darren Johnson.
He's in the quicksand. Darren Johnson continuing this impressive performance on the outer ring. 50%, 3 from 6. But what he has done now is he's added a little bit of power scoring on top of that. The 3 140s and the 6 scores over a ton.
Well, that was what was missing in Group B, wasn't it? Was that ability to score
56.
almost as well as he was finishing. He's combined the two in this match so far. It was a mid-90s average prior to that visit.
100.
56. What Duff has shown us this week
30.
is some resilience and some resistance.
He's also had some really good legs where he's opened up some big gaps. He's
100.
managed over his Group C campaign 103 darts at the double, which tells me he's been completely outscoring his opponents at times to be able to be
85.
afforded that many extra darts.
Yep.
Of that, For
26.
full disclosure, if you're wondering how many he hit, 35 of them, which is 39.98%. So over the 33.33 expectancy of 1 in 3.
Yep. Yeah, anything approaching 40%.
45.
Is very tidy. Any player will find that acceptable.
180.
It's the first 180 of the match. The 180 cards get lofted into the air.
Familiar 180 call of our
100.
referee
Yellow
this
card,
evening. There he
95.
is, Paul Hinks, the governor. Not
55.
doing anything too ambitious with Darren back on 185. Sensible there. Good board management.
55. Near the car, 40.
Panic stations are approaching here.
Game shot on the
Big
fourth
dart,
leg.
big reaction
Neil
there
Duff.
from Neil Duff. You just started to fear the worst a little bit there for him. Not the fact that Darren Johnson back on the 130, but the fact that the more you miss, the more that negativity can breed in. And when
This
you're in
leg,
this
Neil, to
situation where you
first.
need
Game
to
on.
completely turn the game around.
Yeah, something I always remark on, how infectious hitting doubles
180.
and missing them are. 180s in consecutive legs. And Neil Duff, well, we mentioned at the start of leg
100.
4, he does have that resilience and resistance.
Just to mention a couple of people who's joined us this week. One, Martin
100.
Turner, who appears to be in the audience at the moment, supporting his fellow countrymen. Darren Johnson, travelling partner, so he stuck around the extra day. He hadn't just gone off home. And
134.
also, to somebody who shared a group with Neil Duff, that is Chris Wickerden, who left here in the early hours of this morning to drive from Portsmouth up to Manchester,
100.
which, for context, is about 5-6 hours,
Yeah, somewhere around there.
and reached the final of the ADC event, losing out to James Richardson 6-3. So, a massive commitment
66.
there
Near the
from
car,
Chris Wickerden.
121.
Oh, there's 50 left.
81.
Sensibly again. Leaving his chosen double, and his favourite double is tops.
36. Near the car, 40.
Is that reaction that we're talking about? Leaving the double after 12. Shuffle to the right to try and open up the bed.
Game shot on the fifth leg.
In off the post, really,
Neil
that
Duff.
one. He had a little kiss off the dart on the way past.
We don't have VAR in darts, but maybe we should have for that one.
Six leg Darren to
There'll be a
third
lot of
first.
people
Game on.
Not supportive or happy about a VAR, the amount of goals that's disallowed today and situations. But Darren Johnson, when we're talking about reactions, is going
40.
one direction and Neil Duff's going the other. Darren Johnson has lost 10 points off his average in the last couple of legs and is really starting to, once again, struggle to find that scoring power.
140.
I did mention after 3 legs he was averaging mid-90s. He's took over 10
63.
points off of that in the next 2 and a bit legs.
You sense a little bit of panic in this leg with Darren Johnson having the throw.
Well, there's a combination of
60.
a couple of things. Neil Duff's improvement, maybe Darren defending the lead.
Just seems a bit doubtful, doesn't it, at the moment? He seems
28.
almost a hint of desperation to try and get the job done, and ultimately, after 9 darts, he's scored 131 points.
Yeah, because it was a beautiful start. from Darren.
180.
It's now 180s in each of the last 3 legs. Neil Duff.
If the heart rate is
100.
rising for
Neil
Darren
Duff,
Johnson, it's not going to be
121.
helped while Neil Duff is filling that up.
81.
Tops after 12 against the throw.
100.
Return leaves the
Neil
170.
Duff,
The
40.
only player to hit one this week is Darren Johnson.
Game shot on the
Not
sixth
going to get a
leg.
go at it though.
Neil Duff.
Neil Duff, from being 3-0 down, has averaged around 100 in the last 3 legs to get this back to
Seventh and final
3-3.
leg, Neil to throw first. Game on.
If you believe in momentum, you'd say there's only one winner from this point.
The only time you
60.
think about making a comeback is when you've actually got it back level. And psychologically, something changes.
I think if
61.
we're going to talk about the psychological side of things, Darren Johnson, you feel like he had it in his hands, it was his. And what he'll do is he'll just feel like it's slipping between the fingers. And every time he looks up and sees Neil Duff doing that, a fourth 180, he's going to feel like it's gone.
Well,
57.
if you can't acknowledge the quality of this fight back from Neil Duff, then maybe sport isn't for you.
60.
Well, we've talked about the range in performance from match to match for Neil Duff. We've seen the range in performance from the first half of it to the second half of it.
Oh, brilliant. From DJ. His first, and what a time to get it.
100.
How good was that last start? Wowzers.
Big dart, big importance. It forces the 2 trebles now for Darren Johnson, who is
95.
fighting
Nearly
hard.
power one,
He's not
but
just
it's
going to
one.
lay down.
Well, could be tops.
61.
So,
W Car
Darren Johnson,
108.
108 for the match.
He had it won, he had it lost. He will not get a dart to confirm it.
Horrible deflection, that. Yeah, shake of the head. He's
40.
unsure of how that
Nearly
ended up
car
there.
40.
Neil Duff wants tops. Complete the job. Trailed 3-0.
Game shot
Wins
of the
it.
match. Neil Duff.
4-3, and Neil Duff, in 10 minutes or so, has gone from being pretty much out to very much in. Here are the numbers: 90.89 for Neil Duff, 82.61 for Darren Johnson, and those 4 180s for Neil Duff came in the last 4 legs of the match. Well, in our next one, we return to Group 1, and it's Lukas Wenig against Reece Gilliland.
It was around about this time last year that Neil Duff was 3-0 down in a game against Jim McEwen, that he then went on to win 4-3. Later on that week, he ended up becoming the WDF World Champion. Now, I'm not surmising that he may go on and win the night, because he may well do. Maybe sport has this weird way of just drawing up storylines a little bit like that, because he got the better of Darren Johnson 4-3, and it was some fight back as well from the Duff man, aided and abetted by those 4 maximums en route. It was a superb fight back to kick off our Group 2 action. Well, we're just going to park Group 2 for now. We're going to head back. We're going to move into Group 1. It's Lukas Wenig against Reece Gilliland next up for us. Lukas Wenig, after losing to John Henderson in match 1, needs to win. Otherwise, Reece Gilliland is through with a game to spare. In the comms box for this one, here's Chris Mason and Matthew Egg.
When you're coming into a game and you know you need to win it to stay in the event, last person you want to see in front of you, this week especially, is Reece Gilliland. He is our top performer in terms of the running average, 92.53. And he's also kicked off with those couple of 104 averages. See on your graphic there, the 40-year-old played in the BDO World Championship in 2018. And with darts that we've seen this week, I'd expect to see him play in that event again in the near future.
Yeah, for sure. This is quite simply a must-win match for Lukas. A defeat here, and his campaign is over.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. First leg is Lukas to through first.
It'll be Reece Gilliland
Game on.
and John Henderson safely through to the semi-finals. Now, it does have the advantage, of course, of already having a match up there.
82.
I was watching Reece Gilliland have a practice earlier. The directors just like to pre-program the players in shot, so they like to see the players have just 5 or
59.
10 minutes up there. Was it in everything?
You mentioned about Lukas Wenig being on the stage already. But when it's a negative experience,
121.
it can sometimes be, well, that exactly thing. It can be a negative.
Yep.
Having time up there doesn't always become a positive, and the fact that we're seeing him already switch down to the 19s
60.
in the early shots of this. We saw this at the back end of last night when we suspected that he might just be getting a little bit tight, and there is quite a lot more lifting that throw at the moment as well.
Yeah,
60.
he does have some... it's a good thing because there are issues that you can visually see. It's the ones between the ears are tough to sort out, but that's something he can work on and will maybe come with experience and dealing with these kind of situations better. But there's a noticeable change
41.
in the action when he is forcing the issue.
Yeah, it's like he's throwing up at the board. And you will get that because the angle of the dart in the hand, the point pointing down to the floor, will cause the
96.
shoulder to lift to get you that arc as the dart goes through the air. But we're talking about the players on stage quite a bit, but we've also got to consider John Henderson in this situation, because if Reece Gilliland is to win, not only does he
133.
go through, but he also takes John Henderson through to the semi-finals with him.
Yep. Mentioned Martin Turner, who played this week in the crowd.
46. Lukas Wenig, 64.
Our pal Andy Jenkins is at the back. Local lad, of course, enjoying the action. Been looking after a few of the lads this week,
Game
taking
shot
them
in
to
the
the
first leg. Lukas
local
Wenig.
competitions for a bit of practice. As Lukas Wenig holds in 18 in leg 1.
Is a very hot
Second
bed
leg
of darts
through
really at
first.
the moment
Game on.
down this part of the country. The Hampshire County play over in Southampton, which is about 15 miles away from here, and there's regular
85.
weekly competitions, which I must say is the way I believe darts needs to evolve. It needs to come
Agreed.
away from those team environments as such and have more singles leagues or tournaments,
96.
because, well, you'll go to your team match, which is great social event, but you'll play 3 legs of darts and watch everybody else play darts for the rest of the night.
Yep. And then constantly make comparisons.
121.
Which is why this might be becoming a bit of a hotbed of darts, because they're adopting that singles league,
Yep.
weekly tournaments, and
Well, when we were in Southampton, there was one there on a Thursday. There's
58.
one here at the Phoenix on a Wednesday, which is always well attended. I went there. It was quite. Josh Payne was there, and Simon Whitlock, Chaz Barstow will often attend. Jenks. There's an array of
140.
quality players, and of course, Dorset play county not too far away from here. County I played for a couple of seasons.
100.
Very
Reece Colley,
enjoyable.
155.
when you've got the good and the correct processes, you tend to get the results. and
59.
that's why the players are coming through this system, and it's why you get areas that develop loads of players. Look at like St Helens.
Stoke-on-Trent.
There's darts nights,
100.
7 nights a week.
Christian Carr, 96.
Which is why, I mean, look at that ADC event you were talking about a little earlier, that Josh Richardson won one and Lewis Gurney the other. I think there was,
Game shot on the second leg.
there was close to
Chris
200
Gilliland.
players in attendance. And when I had a look at the entry field, the field of entries, my goodness, there were some top names in there.
Third leg, Lukas to throw first.
Players that have
Game
put some
on.
serious mileage in to get there as well. It wasn't just local players.
Oh, showing commitment.
Say one of them, Chris Wickerden, who played here this week.
One on the
Going from
leg.
the very bottom of the country to quite far up. It was, that's as far as my geography goes, that quite far up. But it's about 5-6 hours.
100.
Yeah, it's not round the corner, let's put it that way.
We do encourage interaction on social media, and I've got one here that's quite an interesting comment, and I'm going to pass this one over to yourself. It's from
133.
Lee Seymour, who says, do you think sometimes a player can want it too much? Because he gets that sort of vibe with Neil Duff, and we've seen in the past Andy Jenkins, who you've mentioned in the crowd, almost want it too
95.
much because he wants to fill this up with locals.
Yeah, I don't think that's of his concern. I just think it's just one of those things that players like to tick off their list. You know, it's
84.
like a resume, isn't it? You know, there were certain tournaments that I was desperate to win. There was others that it wouldn't really have mattered to me. One like the Somerset Open, which was I think it was just a BDO Order of Merit
136.
type ranking
Lukas
event, but
Wenig,
it was
104.
the history around it and the names previously on the trophy. For Andy being from Portsmouth.
Game shot on the third leg. Lukas Wenig.
Beautiful leg there from Lukas, 12 darter. Yeah, it's just one of those things he wants to tick off. But in a whole, I think that's where we see players
Well,
with a bit of baggage in the end.
Game
I
on.
just wanted to win too badly, and that just took its toll on my levels of performance, and that can happen.
125.
I think that's why when you see players, exception to the rule, Michael Smith, who go so close so often, don't ever get over the line.
58.
Terry Jenkins, Ronnie Baxter. There's a long list of them that were certainly good enough to get to a final, and had they maybe have won one early, who knows what would have happened.
60.
Yeah, I think when you look up that explanation on the dictionary or the Urban Dictionary, there is a picture of Terry Jenkins.
But still had a
99.
wonderful career, and it's rated as one of the top players in world darts over the years.
I certainly wouldn't mind his bank account either. We've won a fair few
81.
pounds over the years.
Yeah, definitely.
He was one of the people that also had other interests in darts. He liked his
96.
antiques and his collectibles. We do see other people with interests in darts. We've seen now Gerwyn Price with a cafe and a housing business. We used to see a lot of people get involved in getting
100.
bars and pubs.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Terry Jenkins in ranking tournaments.
98. Christian
Doesn't
Carr,
include any
55.
promotional activities or sponsorships or
Game shot on the fourth
non-ranked
leg.
events.
Chris Gilliland.
earned nearly 1.4 million.
I think that's in a time where prize money wasn't as big as it is today.
Exactly.
Fifth leg, Lukas to throw
Yes,
first.
the
Game
prize
on.
money back then was almost laughable.
Let's play one of my favourite games, Assumptions.
42.
And if these two were to have a side business, what do you think they'd be? I'm going to go Lukas Wenig protein bars.
Yeah, he'd definitely have a gym, wouldn't he?
100.
Chris Gilliland audiobooks, because he has a lovely soft, well, all Northern Ireland accents are lovely, but it's so soft.
101.
If you want to send your assumptions in as well, at the Edgar 501. Do you like to have a bit of fun here on the Super Series?
Yeah, please get in touch.
121.
He would be a good advert, though, for protein bars, wouldn't he? Lukas Wenig.
Good advert for creatine.
94.
Here's Hench. Really, really nice guy too.
96.
They did give me a funny look when I asked him where his Lederhausens were.
85.
They're on George Noble at the minute, aren't they?
They wouldn't fit Lukas.
And with
58.
this actually becomes its own sense of managing the day as well, because there's no way a guy like Lukas Wenig is going to be able to go 5-6 hours without eating.
No.
So he's going to have to manage his day very different to other people. An
47.
event like today where we're starting at 8 o'clock,
126.
potentially finishing around 12, he's going to have a sense of consideration that others wouldn't.
Yeah, probably a bit of carb loading late in the afternoon. Let that settle, and like you say, probably you protein bars and maybe flapjacks
54.
throughout the
Lukas
course of the evening.
132.
This may have to go, and it's not going to. Chris Gilliland against the throw, potentially
92.
the opportunity
Lukas
to break at the
72.
perfect time.
Yeah, it would give him the throw for the match, and the next one's going to get 2 darts at the double. Lukas Wenig turns around to look at the board.
48.
He'll like what he sees.
Lukas Wenig, 40.
Sure will. There's that bit of good fortune we have mentioned this week. Well, it's only good fortune. You take advantage of it. Wow.
Game shot on the 5th leg.
Quite sure
Lukas Wenig.
he was aiming there. I'd like to have seen how far wide he went. Yeah, a puff of the cheeks and a raise of the eyebrows. I should say so.
6th leg Chris to throw first.
Huge moment in the
Game
match.
on.
You know, when we mentioned about food and nutrition, it brings me back to the days when I used to do a bit of wrestling, and I was on a show with a guy called AJ
140.
Styles. I'll just pick that name up. It's a big name. Chris is shaking his head. He doesn't know. It's a big name. And when he did his match, he came back, and I think it was a can of tuna.
85.
He sat eating it straight after the match.
Straight out of the tin.
Straight out of the tin, because by wrestling that match for 15 minutes, it would have lowered down he'd have burnt calories, so
Yeah.
he needed to instantly replenish that. And
35.
obviously, the bigger you are, the more that's going to have to be considered. So it is one of those things that maybe we should have put a microphone on Lukas Wenig and asked him these sort of
100.
questions, because there are a lot of people, and I'm very hot on my social media, that ask quite regularly, like, how do you manage going to the gym at the same time as playing? And it is, when it is a lifestyle like it clearly is for Lukas Wenig,
45.
you've got to map it out and plan it out properly. I'm guessing he's got a lot of stretch bands and
Yeah, resistance bands, and so we'll try and stay loose, and
171.
a few gym sessions, but maybe just light ones because of the fear, of course, of tweaking something or pulling a muscle.
41. Lukas Wenig, 145.
Or maybe they've just had a nice week off. I think the bodybuilders call it bulking. Matt Edgar calls
57.
it dinner.
call it starter. But bulking, I don't think he can do any more bulking, can he? I think you could paint him green.
140. Lukas Wenig, 88.
Well, his nickname's Lou. Maybe that's because of Lou Ferringo. Ball for the match.
63. Chris Wenig,
Raised it.
100.
Nice to save the match.
And it would have significance as well, because Lukas Wenig lost his first game 4-2. So if he was to win this 4-2, it would eradicate
40.
the legs and it'd put him back
Looking
to
at car
0.
25.
So this is a big shot, really, because legs can quite often come into play in these mini groups.
Game, shot and the match.
Absolute
Lukas
class. Took a
Wenig.
moment to reset and found the double 8 that wasn't easy. Lukas Wenig battles through against Chris Gilliland, an average of 87.39. Gilliland actually with the slightly higher average of 88.23. Both players having a couple of 180s between them, and both players 50% on the doubles. When we return to Group 2, and it is Darren up against Reece.
Very well, welcome back everyone to the live lounge here in Portsmouth. You're tuning into the Week 9 finals here at the MODUS Super Series, and we have just seen Lukas Wenig won out a 4-2 victor against Chris Gilliland in our third match of the evening, the second in Group 1. And what that does do after John Henderson's 4-2 win over Lukas Wenig means that a 4-2 win for Chris Gilliland against John Henderson in the final game of Group 1 could mean a 9-dart shootout. Yep, we have dropped the 9-dart shootout klaxon quite early this evening, guys. Right, let's get into the middle match then of Group 2, because it's going to see Darren Johnson in action. Now, we saw him in the second game of the session. He took on Neil Duff. He raced into a 3-0 lead before then going on the wrong end of a 4-3 defeat. He takes on Reece Colley. We saw him in Group B over the course of Thursday and Friday, and we saw him as the victor in that particular group. So what we're going to see from him tonight, I wonder. Let's find out. Here's Matt, here's Chris.
Thank you, Henry. Yeah, big game for both, of course. The same scenario as our last match featuring Lukas and Vennig. A win here for Reece, and he will take himself through, and Neil Duff. A win for Darren, and then he will have to sit and wait on the results between Reece Colley and Neil Duff, as Lukas Wenig will have to do when Chris Gilliland and John Henderson meet in our final match of the group stages. Tonight's semi-finals will start at 10 p.m.
First leg is Darren to through first.
Don't forget, you can watch the action if you prefer over on Sporty Stuff TV. But welcome to all of our viewers around the world watching via our MODUS Super Series YouTube channel. Please hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. Helps
45.
with our search engines, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. Also, welcome along to all of our viewers watching with your chosen bookmaker.
45.
Don't forget, if you want to get in touch with us and if there's anything you'd like to discuss, contact Well, give us a follow on our social medias at MSS Darts, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, apparently,
137.
or contact Matt Edgar direct.
Yeah, if you want to come straight through to the commentary box, just make sure you chuck in the handle at the Edgar 501. It is up on the screen.
133.
We'll be able to answer your questions or queries. If you are wondering as well about the
59.
colour of Reece Colley's shirt, it's not Burnley or West Ham or Scunthorpe. He's an Aston Villa fan.
As are you, isn't that right?
I am. We had a bit of a chat.
96.
Because Aston Villa had a nice 2-0 victory early on against Nottingham Forest, pushing them into the European qualification positions at the
Are they up
moment.
to 7th?
140.
Ooh.
Down in your car, 130.
So,
Well done, Villa.
could inspire Reece Colley a little bit here. He is quite
78.
fearful, he was saying, though, about
Reach your car,
losing
120.
Ollie Watkins. Thinks he might be heading to Arsenal.
Is Watkins a local
40.
player
Down in
to
your
Villa?
car,
Is he a
52.
West Midlands or a Midlands man?
Game shot in the first
Homegrown
leg.
talent.
Darren Johnson.
No, he was brought in from, I want to say Brentford.
Second leg Reece
Did
to throw
Bournemouth.
first. Game on.
Done the rounds then.
100.
Reece Colley came into this week, big outsider for the group. He ended up winning it.
81.
Picked by myself and Matt Edgar.
It was just far too inviting, wasn't it, for someone who's won what Reece Colley has won. But
125.
I mentioned that he felt, or I certainly felt like watching him, that just a little bit lost in terms of,
90.
obviously he wants to play on the PDC Pro Tour and sort of not performing in anything after missing out on that tour card again at Q School, and
140.
not really putting in that level of performance, affected the year. And we said he needed to start making strides and steps forward back to where he was, and this, qualifying
100.
and winning a group,
Reach your
is
car,
certainly putting
136.
back on track. And you can see just in the demeanour of him now that he just seems a lot happier on the stage
29.
already again.
Yeah, he may be one of them type of players that needs inspiring, and sometimes you get players that just don't knuckle down. Of course, we live in this era where
85. Reach your car,
everybody wants
107.
everything yesterday.
$39.
It can be
Down in your
quite
car,
tricky if you're setting out to
145.
play for Man United and you end up at Barrow. Apology, Barrow fans.
Ooh, tops for a beauty.
105. Reach your car,
Tops for
68.
2-0.
That would have been a breaker throw as well.
Well, we've seen this in the opening match for Darren.
Game
in the
shot
early
in the second
stages, he
leg.
was
Reece Colley.
rock solid into the mid-90s. Had that 145 gone in, he'd have been 2-0 up and into the mid-90s here.
Third leg Darren to throw first. Game on.
We talk about those kind of finishes all the time. Like, it's only 68, but it's massive.
32.
Context as well of that situation. Darren Johnson's just lost a 3-0 lead in his last game and ended up losing 4-3 against Neil Duff. And then he misses a dart for a
125.
big out, like a 145. You've got the opponent with one dart in hand. You think, I've got a chance. And he hits it, and you just start to feel like it's
140.
against you a little bit. Even though, all things considered, you're going to have moments of highs and lows. Those lows just start to hit harder
55.
when you just see them all the way down the road in that journey.
Yeah, I was literally about to mention that very point. At what point do you start to say to yourself, is it
171.
just not my night? Well, that was a beautiful visit. 919s, 171, leaves him 158.
140.
Almost the
Down in your car,
perfect
158.
riposte.
41.
This is an opportunity here for Reece Colley if he can just find a big treble.
43. Down in your car,
Both have
117.
Fluffed their lines after fabulous visits.
$93. Reach your car, 138.
Modern way. Maybe back down.
98. Down in your car,
Pushes
24.
the 24.
Game shot in the third leg. Darren
Pressure is for
Johnson.
tyres would be the reply from Darren Johnson as he holds in 16.
Fourth leg reach to throw first. Game on. $140.
Remember one of my favourite bantery lines.
83.
I was having a
Housery.
I was on a practice board, and it was, I'm not going to name the player. It was me, and Steve Hine was the
85.
player of choice.
The Muffin Man.
And we was having a practice game, and the player was about to throw. He had one dart in hand. He was about to throw at the situation, and Steve says to him, he's under pressure. And if you not know Steve, he's quite a sizable chap. He turns around to
100.
Steve and he goes, not as much pressure as your shoes.
Oh, that's top banter.
134.
Even Steve just couldn't stop laughing. Steve has won a tournament today as well in
95.
Brandon,
Down in your car,
Warwickshire.
Well done, Steve.
144.
Was that another one of the ADC events, or was this an open?
That was an open, but
Yeah,
the way
'cause
everything's going, there will be ADC events soon, I'm sure, because everyone's
60.
adopting that
Reach your
ranking
car,
system in their
81.
local events.
yeah, Josh Richardson also won a big open yesterday.
Game shot in the first
that's a
leg.
beauty.
Reece Colley.
Yeah, always great the amount of darts opens that are on over this period with the Bank Holiday Friday and then everybody off work Saturday, Sunday and
Fifth leg Darren to throw first. Game on.
Bank Holiday Monday.
Not us, we'll be right here in the chairs talking through some games of darts. Plenty of darts throughout the
60.
bank holiday weekend. Also the PDC European Tour going on over this weekend as well.
95.
But that was another one of those situations where Darren Johnson might have thought he was coming back with for a chance when Reece Colley one dart in hand again.
140.
Yes. But he's 2 from 2 on the doubles. Darren Johnson not too far behind him, 2 from 3.
40.
What will you be doing on your Bank Holiday Sunday? Of course, we do get a day off tomorrow. I'll be taking the missus out for a nice posh Weatherspoons Sunday.
96.
Game of air hockey. Strawberry and vanilla mixed ice cream on the seafront.
Nice work.
83.
Might even treat her to a flake.
Get out of here.
I think one of the things that's
85.
most impressive, though, as well about the Reece Colley 2 from 2 and the one dart in hand hits is the fact that actually coming into this, he's qualified with the
100.
lowest checkout
Daniel Carr,
percentage of anybody
120.
in this group tonight. 31.81, which means he's dropped below our expected 33, hitting 28 out of his 88 attempts. at double.
42.
Yeah, that's below par, or what we suggest is par of
125. Daniel Carr,
also
78.
tells me is he's one of the bigger scorers, so he's creating opportunities, and if he starts to find the doubles, he will
38.
have success.
Reece
And he
Colley,
did have
58.
success, of course, winning Group B.
That is inviting.
38.
He'll be
Daniel Carr,
disappointed.
40. Game shot on the fifth leg. Darren Johnson.
Everything has gone with the darts so far. Both players averaging just shy of 90.
Six leg reach to throw first. Game on.
We spoke a lot tonight about the range. Reece Colley is, well,
57.
this past week has been the perfect example of range. The lowest average he has shown is an 85.82. The best he's shown is a 91.06. The range is just 6 points. So that tells me that Reece Colley has got where he needs to be in terms
45.
of producing an entire season. Now what he needs to put on top of that is that occasional, what we're seeing from Chris Gilliland, that sudden
45.
burst when it's needed so he can compete with the next level above. But he's certainly got that consistency part of his game absolutely nailed. Just so happens to be playing bang in that range again in this match.
Yep. Seen a lot of big
60.
scores from him, so, and we've seen some big averages from him here at the Super Series, more so down at the
100.
old venue down in Southampton. Pretty sure his personal best is around 110.
118. Reece Colley,
A little bit
119.
surprised, though, to look at his overall running average for the last 12 months in all competitions, Q School, Challenge Tour, Development
43.
Tour, that it's actually down at 82. So, although he's got that very good range at that sort of high 80s, 90s here, which is something, is not the first time I've seen him do it.
94.
I've seen him do
Reece
this
Colley,
multiple times
76.
before, winning groups in Group C. He's not producing that out there on the tours.
Yeah, I think maybe he's a young player, of course, and I think they are very much
Game shot on the
affected
six
by
leg. Reece Colley.
performances, and they tend to dwell on them, where the more experienced players will, or the players with that great mentality will
Seventh and
just
final leg, Darren to throw first.
put them in the bin.
Game on.
Yeah, again, showing us serious clutch finishing.
Well, we'll probably see at the end of this game that as soon
38.
as the game's over, he'll look over to the TV to see what his average is. That is a sign of that. But this is a big leg now, because a win in this leg for Reece Colley qualifies him
100.
through to the semi-finals, also taking Neil Duff with him and sending Darren Johnson home. So a must-win leg for Darren Johnson, which if he does win it, gives us
134.
2 possible groups where we could have the double 9-dart shootout.
If all the players are tied,
125.
points and leg difference, we have a 9-dart shootout. Haven't been in one. They are fairly horrific.
87.
But I love to watch them.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're great drama. Got a penalty
100.
shootout, isn't it?
He's got a couple of followers with him. There's Reece Colley.
140.
I was about to say they'll probably be liking what they're seeing here because he might be going through at the first possibility, but Darren Johnson has given himself some hope.
100. Daniel Carr,
102 to
102.
keep his hopes alive of making the semi-finals.
To stay there for double 11,
80.
and he's out.
Reece Colley, 76.
Match start. Well, this has been where he's excelled in this match. He's found the 60. Can he find the double 8? One in hand. Oh, and he makes the adjustment. And it is Reece Colley who takes himself into the final. Neil Duff with him. Super performance there in the end. 88.61 from Colley, 88.57. No shock that that one went to the wire. Right, when we come back, we return to our final match in Group 1. And there's some permutations in this one as Chris Gilliland takes on John Henderson.
Reece Colley is causing chaos here at the Super Series. He has eliminated Darren Johnson, and he is through with a game to spare here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. A 4-3 success then for the man from the West Midlands against Johnson, who has been eliminated now from the process after losing both his matches in a deciding leg. So Duff is through alongside Colley, and so that is going to round out how the group will finish. Well, the Group 1 is far from completed. In fact, any outcome is possible as far as that is concerned. And that includes a 9-dart shootout. If Chris Gilliland gets the better of John Henderson by 4 legs to 2 in this one, we will have a 9-dart shootout to determine how the first group of our evening will end. Plenty of things to discuss, plenty of scenarios to try and caveat around, and let's get down to the boys in the box. I'll discuss all of that and look ahead to a game full of great excitement.
Thank you, Henry. Yeah, well, I'm not even going to go into if, what, could, maybes. We're going to have to just let this one play out. Henderson wins. He is through, of course, with Lukas Wenig. Gilliland needs to win. Four, 3 or better. Any win? No, wouldn't be enough. Would
It'd
it
be 4-1 or better.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, 4-1 or better. Yeah, had me 3 legs swing the wrong way.
He can certainly produce the darts that he's going to need to. We've seen that already, those 2 averages of 104, if you could find one of them right now, but that's
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. First leg is
real
Christopher
trick, isn't it?
first.
That's the real
Game on.
sign of quality, not just being able to produce quality, but being able to produce quality like that when needed, when you can flip that light switch. It's a very, very rare skill to have.
85.
Monday, Chris got a 4-3 win over John Henderson, a match that had 6 180s in it. 3 apiece.
$140.
On Tuesday,
58.
bit of revenge for Hendo,
96.
winning 4-3.
$171.
On Wednesday, it was far more convincing. Henderson winning 4-zip. Chris
60.
Gilliland
John
reduced to
Newcastle,
just 3 darts at the
132.
double in the entire match. But Wednesday, of course, was a disastrous day.
89.
Chris Gilliland
Bristol Car,
didn't win the
120.
game, did he?
Well, he certainly put that one right. Like he'll be hoping to put it right tonight. Be tops.
80. John Newcastle, 43.
He'd have a best finish of a 120, in fact, in his group, which qualified him through to
Game shot of the
Saturday. But
first
John
leg.
Henderson
John Henderson
strikes early with a breaker throw. And I did come down to the venue today with Paul Hinks, our referee this evening.
Second leg, John Deserve
Who is
first. Game on.
A man who has refereed on pretty much every stage in the world for pretty much every player on the biggest stages. And he mentioned to me on the way down, he says, Chris Gilliland's a player. He says, every time he comes to the hockey, I just expect.
100.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a big fan.
100.
from a man who's famously refereed a big Michael Van Gerwen Phil Taylor match.
140.
He has the closest view of anybody.
Best seat in the house.
85.
It's a very tough job, the referee,
85.
because
John Lucar,
you can add up and then
136.
take away on the finishers. I find it quite tricky. Sometimes you'll be breaking it down in your head because you know what they're throwing at, but you forget to add up what they've actually hit.
Yeah, I've done a couple
116.
of guest refereeing slots at sort of charity events, and it is seriously hard under pressure in front of a... It's certainly not anywhere like doing the Super League game on a
136. John Lucar,
Saturday night
20.
down your local.
Just wasn't happy with that, and he just sort of re-gripped again to
Game
make
shot on the
sure he
second
won't be
leg.
rushed. He'll
John
do things on his own
Henderson.
time. He'll do it on Hendo time.
It's some start to this match from both players.
Third leg, Chris to throw first.
Average
Game on.
is indicating that.
Oh, we did say Chris Gilliland's going to have to be at the very top of his game, being around that 100 average.
45.
We just didn't expect that he'd do it and not win a leg. And again, we are dealing with a man who has won the PDC World Cup alongside Peter Wright. And to be fair, if you watch that event, you'd say, out of the two of them, John Henderson, the bigger performer that weekend.
Absolutely.
140.
Former British Open winner, amongst other things, Belgium Open, and many titles to the resume of Big John.
137.
His average up to near 110. Pretty much unplayable at the moment.
96.
And if he is to win this leg, it will eliminate the possibility of the 9-dart shootout.
Yep.
81.
John, a real unassuming guy, but I arrived early today just to go through some notes and a bit of prep work. And he said, although he's got
95.
this issue with his
John
ankle, he said
Lucar,
he'd been having a throw for
148.
30 minutes, and he said, I'm playing brilliant. That's not the kind of thing you'll hear from John.
95. Chris Lucar, 125.
I wonder if, though, because he does have a bit of pain in the ankle, that maybe he's not moving as much as he normally does. He does have an unusual rock in action, but it's a ball for Chris Gilliland. That is a fantastic finish when he's just been getting pummeled despite playing so well. Bull 25, bull for Chris Gilliland. Hendo's average has gone up to 106. This is a quality game of darts.
Oh, we've seen that shot from Peter Wright in the Premier League Thursday night. Exactly the same way.
97.
That will make him feel $1 million.
And the possibility of the 9-dart shootout is still alive. If that is to happen, though, Chris Gilliland is going to need to win all 3 of the remaining legs. Not an impossibility. But Chris Gilliland with this sort of long dart and a
60.
very thin flight on the back would have been able to see quite a bit of that bullseye, where someone who uses a shorter dart or a standard flight like John Henderson's using, there'd be a lot of material
11.
blocking up that bull.
Yeah, absolutely. He has a real flat throw, which just leaves so much of the target open. Here's a perfect example.
140.
That, like you say, that smaller, thinner flight just allows you to find openings.
Oh, I do really like the action. The very
140.
flat sort of dart as he's sighting. Then he gets the angle on the point on the drawback. And there's just a bit of lift, but that's why he uses these sort of flights, because the equipment then complements the
97.
throw.
John Lukas,
Yeah, and
160.
it allows the dart to go through the air a little bit quicker and a little bit cleaner. But you do have to have a real clean release to be able to
24.
do what
Reece
Chris
Colley,
Gilliland does.
112.
Level game.
You will rarely see him stray as well, because it's also straight from the shoulder to the elbow to the wrist. There's no sort of angle on the
48.
arm.
John Lukas,
Very much
136.
an aimer, isn't he? I'm surprised he that way on 76, because by going that way,
100. Reece Colley, 64.
now he needs a trouble to get 2 darts at a double. That may have been a bit of a miscount. Could be costly. 1 dart instead of 2, but
Game
1
shot on the
dart
fourth leg.
is all Chris
Gilliland.
Gilliland needs. And that is the break back to back legs for the Northern Irishman.
Fifth leg, Chris to throw first.
He does
Game
like that
on.
top end of the board. We had a brief discussion actually on the way out. Earlier on in the week, he left 19 and he hit a 17 double one and was unsure whether that was the intended plan. And I mentioned that I believe it was supposed to be that way because it
16.
looked too good of a 17. He informs me that is what he does on 19, 17 double one.
57.
Bit risque because there is no room for error, but he's very confident in that process, and it did work for him earlier in the week as well.
Well, we see so many players now on 5 on to
45.
go the 3 double one, especially if they're tops and tens players. It just shows a lot of confidence in your ability to
100.
take on the double one.
$96.
Good thinking. Now means, of course, he can have 3 darts at the same target from 300.
140. $60.
Crashing in the 180s this afternoon, Matt. Watching you have a good 15, 20 minutes on the board. Scaring yourself.
It's easy in the living room, isn't
100.
it? I've beat Phil Taylor in the living room, Michael van Gerwen, and I've won 18 World Championships. We'll find out in a couple of weeks if
Yeah, of course,
It
you'll be
holds up
here.
or not.
100.
Week 12.
Car 104.
Group B, isn't it? Week 12.
it'll be in the evening sessions. See if it all holds together and can have a few games of darts.
Well, one thing you're definitely going to do, and that's enjoy it.
80. Christian Car
Have a bit of fun with it.
140.
Just gone off the boil after that. Really impressive couple of legs.
60. John Lukas 24.
Not been able to maintain that level. Big John's come off the top a little bit.
18. Christian Car 80.
It's almost like we're destined for the 9-dart shootout.
Game shot
we're
on
a
the
step
fifth leg.
closer.
Chris Gilliland.
Chris Gilliland pins tops off the back of 80. The clutch finishing has been outstanding. Yeah, the
6 leg John to throw first. Game on.
64, 125 on the ball, and 80 there.
81.
Chris Gilliland has to win this leg.
Yep.
4-3 is not good enough.
Nope.
If John Henderson wins this leg, Chris Gilliland is out.
60.
That's down to leg difference. Because coming into this, Chris Gilliland -2, John Henderson +2. Gilliland was to win
85.
4-3. Henderson had dropped to +1. Gilliland to go to -1, and Lukas Wenig's on 0.
Yep.
So even by winning this, it wouldn't be enough. It's all on this leg.
100.
Now, John Henderson is quite new to the Super Series. I'm not convinced he would know the situation, but Chris Gilliland's played in this many times, and I would not be surprised if he is very aware that this is the moment.
100. John Lucar,
With that in mind,
155.
it makes those missed doubles of John Henderson in the last leg maybe make Chris Gilliland think it's Christmas already.
97.
Well, he is right up against it now. Way back on 241.
'57. John Lucar, 58.
For a place in the semi-finals, he's got at least 5 darts. And that one is so inviting.
18.
He will return, Chris Gilliland. Nothing you can do at the moment but hope. Hope that he can get a shot to take us to a 9-dart shootout.
74. John Lucar, 40. Game shot on the 6th leg.
Those
John
hopes are
Henderson.
dashed with a 16 darter, and Chris Gilliland, by the looks of it, as
7th and final leg, Chris to throw first.
well aware
Game on.
that is that.
Yeah, there was a very dejected look there from Chris Gilliland, who has given us plenty of
59.
moments this week. We can take a few moments to look back through some of those. The 204 averages obviously being the big standout. 11 180s.
123.
Group average of 92.53. He has certainly earned his place in this. He's been here since Monday. He's had a full week down here. And he'll
48.
certainly be leaving with plenty of pounds in the pocket for his efforts.
Yeah, absolutely, and more experience gained. Very hard for the Northern
100.
Irish players, of course. The brunt of competitive darts, or more competitive darts, are obviously in
59.
England.
Sure, we'll be going on to the challenge tours and
Yep.
going to the ADCs before we'll
135.
no doubt see him back here again in Series 4.
Yeah, Colin McGarry won the first ADC event in Larne. I'm sure that will be expanding. Only in Northern Ireland, of course, but
140.
also in
John
Southern
Lucar,
Ireland.
143.
But John Henderson is trying to be what I would call the face of the Super Series. I think if you had to call the face of
87.
the Super Series last year, you'd probably go with Graham Usher.
Yep.
And this year, we're looking for that face of the Super Series, the person who's sort of dominating procedures. And John Henderson has been in 1 week so
John
far
Lucar,
and won it.
56.
He is making good strides into making it 2 from 2.
Not doing it easily.
16. Chris Lucar, 62.
Treble 10. 12 for tops.
22. John Lucar, 40.
Will John Henderson go into the semi-finals unbeaten?
'20. Chris Lucar, 40. Game, shot and the match, Reece Gilliland.
Reece Gilliland departs us with a victory. John Henderson, despite defeat, does qualify through, and Lukas Wenig will be going through with him. That is 3 of our semi-finalists complete. In fact, it's our whole semi-finalist lineup complete, because we're going to see the last 2 players coming up in a little head-to-head battle to see who will be winning the advantage of the throw. It's Reece Colley and Neil Duff.
Welcome back to the live lounge here with Porsche, where Reece Gilliland has got the better of John Henderson by 4 legs of 3, but it is not enough for him to qualify for tomorrow night's final. So John Henderson, he is into the final, which will take place after 10 o'clock this evening. He's going to be joined by Lukas Wenig in that occasion. The semi-finals, as I say, it's going to be live with us from 10 o'clock tonight here on Sporty Stuff TV and on the MODUS Super Series YouTube channel. So we know our final 4 now. Them 2 are going to progress their way through Group 1. As far as Group 2 is concerned, Reece Colley and Neil Duff, well, they're both into the final 4. What we need to do in this game is to finalise positions and see who is going to play who, how it's going to play out, how it's all going to shape as we head into our semi-finals. We are now down to just 4 players to see who's going to be the 9th player into Champions Week. And in the commentary box for this one, it's Matt Edgar and Chris Mason.
Thank you, Henry. So, John Henderson will play the loser of this match in our first semi-final. And the winner of this match will play Lukas in our second semi-final.
The best introduction we can give to this game is welcome to the longest bull-up you're ever going to watch, because the winner of this match will have the advantage of throw. There's only one game we bull up for here at the Super Series, which is the final. So there is still something to be gained by winning this match. Going into a short format, best of 7, in a semi-final when there's a sizable jump in prize money, that advantage of throw could play its card, especially in a group like this where things are very, very even.
First leg is Reece to throw first. Game on.
And against a player of Lukas Wenig's quality. Every advantage is welcomed.
140.
I do like those little moments where the players almost have a bit of rock, paper, scissors, where one wants the shake, one wants the bump, and then they switch. And
140.
it's like one of them movies where they have the secret handshakes. And
that's the Masonic thing, isn't it?
57.
the danger, though, in these situations is that you come into these games a little bit relaxed, a little bit job done, a little bit, I'll get up there and obligate the fixture, because what you then do is you're then playing the game
55.
without that intensity, though it can just make you a little bit lazy in the action, and you can just start to pick up a couple of bad habits, and it's hard then when you come to your next game and go, right, I need to get back on it again now, that you're trying to ride almost
81.
a roller coaster of emotion rather than just approaching everything as what it should be, which is win every match.
Yeah, I think
59.
we've got two totally different types and styles of throw. I think this man plays better with that certain level of intensity. We've seen that,
100.
especially in Group C, where this man with the more fluid or natural throw
85.
obviously benefits when
120.
he's nice and relaxed and can play with freedom.
And he was mightily impressive on the finishes in the
78.
last
Reece
match.
Colley,
One dart in hand a lot of the
105.
time. Clutch finishing 68, 81, 76 twice.
Yeah, he was outstanding, wasn't he?
Game shot on the first
Add
leg.
105
Reece
to that
Colley.
list. One dart in hand is all Reece Colley needs. He might be on the phone to Peter Manley pretty soon, asking for a share of the old nickname.
Second leg nailed it
Reece,
first.
one
Game
dart.
on.
Colley, I like it.
$100. $140.
The support from the travelling army from the Midlands.
60.
Could it be an unbelievable day for the Villa
80.
fan? Villa win and move up the table. Maybe he can win the week 9 of the Super Series and take his place in the
100.
Champions of Champions.
Talk about the support for Reece Colley. Makes you think what they could. We've got the Barney Army and
140.
different names that people call their supporters. I think with Reece, we could call his supporters the Flowers. The Reese's
100.
Colley Flowers.
Reece Colley, 141.
You're going to break into some Latin there.
89. Neil Lukas, 61.
Too good.
57. Reece Colley, 52.
Has been his bread and butter this evening so far. Pop, pop. Pop, pop, pop.
42.
No, not this time.
Neil Lukas, 4.
Sorry about that, Reece. Proper jinx, that one.
Game shot on the second leg. Neil Duff. Third leg Reece to throw first. Game on. $45.
Sure, Henry's going to be loading some interesting questions your way about who you think's going to be winning from here. Are you
140.
any the wiser?
No.
I think that's been us all week, really, hasn't
Yeah.
it? It's been a very, very tough week to predict, and
I mean, the obvious one,
100.
of course, is John Henderson, with just by virtue of his rock solid performances. But I
100.
wouldn't be shocked if any of the four won it. It wouldn't. Any one of them winning it, I wouldn't go, oh, didn't see that coming. And that has been the nature of week 9.
I do like to make predictions on weeks. I'm very big and bold with my predictions. And next week, week 10, I'll go up there on Monday on the balcony.
140.
I'll tell you the winner on Monday.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that a couple of times. I picked Steve West out, Owen Bates. Had a couple
45.
this series
Neil
where
Lukas, 121.
I've picked on the interview on the opening Monday morning.
I think we've got a standout performer joining us next week.
96. Reece Colley, 131.
Yeah, haven't we? Glad I'm commentating and not playing.
It's not a week to miss. We're going to learn an awful lot next week. And I'm really excited to be sat in the chair for it.
105.
And Reece has doubled, so
Lukas,
that good today.
25.
He's chucking him in for a bit of a bonus.
This breaker throw going to be a bonus. It
Game
sure
shot on the
is.
third leg. Neil Duff.
Back-to-back legs for Neil Duff. That one is the breaker throw. If you don't know,
Fourth leg,
been
Neil
on
to
the
throw
moon
first.
for the last
Game
24 hours. Luke Littlet will be in action next week. One of the most exciting young talents in our
on.
sport.
96.
I take it you're assuming that's who I'm talking about this whole time then. I was trying to make it wait till Monday. I was putting a
45.
cliffhanger in there, trying to get the viewers to return on Monday to see who we thought. But I'm sure everyone who knows that he is here next week knew exactly who I was referring to throughout
100.
that process. I think if you do want to watch him as well, you're probably going to have to tune in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because I don't think he's going to be here Thursday, Friday.
140.
I agree. His level of play at the moment is just on a bit of a different planet.
60. 100.
Year on debut in the development tour, picked up 2 wins. Last year was the JDC World Championship winner, the JDC Master.
100.
Go on, I'll save it for Monday, but I'll be here all night.
Running at nearly an 89 average over the last 12
81.
months over
Neil
all
Lukas
tournaments.
145.
And only getting better.
60. Reece Colley 135.
We had that moment in the UK Open when we had another youngster, didn't we? Thomas Banks playing Edwin Price on stage. Oh, tops for a beauty.
115. Neil Lukas 85.
One dart finishers are letting Colley down at the moment. Chase the treble.
45.
Paid the
Reece
price.
Colley 20. Game shot on the fourth leg.
The
Reece
other
Colley.
most exciting youngster in Planet Darts right now, Bo Greaves, and I'm shocked we've not seen Bo so far here at the
Fifth
Super
leg Reece to
Series.
throw
It can't be,
first. Game on.
can't be far away. Maybe just everyone's refusing to play if she plays.
It's crazy when you think about what these guys were achieving at 16
40.
years old. I mean, can you remember what you was doing at 16? Or can you even tell us what you was doing at 16 years
Yeah,
old?
I wasn't. I'd already fallen out of love with
121.
darts by then, and many other interests.
55.
But even, I mean, I played very, very young, and by the time I was 13, I was decent,
100.
but not anywhere near the level of some of the things I'm watching. Luke
95.
Littler and, of course, Leighton Bennett, another exciting talent who, when he was 13, 14, was doing remarkable things, hitting 9 darters.
140.
I was doing a paper round and climbing trees.
140. Neil Lukas 140.
Suppose the injection of... Oh, is he bust?
No score.
He's bust the 140.
Wow.
Maybe he thought he was playing soft tip and went for the master out.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what the master out is, you don't actually have to hit a double.
100.
Just
Neil
gotta hit the
Lukas
score.
140.
Yeah, you can do it on a treble. I don't think you can do it on a single,
No,
though,
it's-
can you?
no,
It's got to be a treble or a
Yeah.
double.
100.
Oh, it did
Reece
do. He's
Colley 71.
cost him 3 darts. That's allowed Reece Colley now an opportunity, which, if the first game's anything to go by, could be a dangerous ploy.
Gonna have to hit the ball if he finds the single 15, which he's done.
46. Neil Lukas 40.
He may get away with it. Amani says
No score. Reece Colley 25.
will not be happy with that return.
Up to that point, he was going along very nicely in terms
21.
of checkout percentages.
Neil
But
Lukas
both of them
40.
have lost their way now. Bends the wire. Should be a great guide.
Game shot on the
and
fifth
it is
leg. Neil Duff.
a great guide, and Neil Duff finds the third break of throw in this match, third consecutive break of throw.
Six flag Neil to throw first. Game on.
He did find a lot of 180s in his comeback victory over Darren Johnson. Found a 180 in actually all the last 4 legs.
60.
4 maximums. All in a row. He's now got 2 in this one. 6 180s for the night. And that is a bit of a feature of his game. He is the biggest
45.
hitter out of the players that got the qualification places here. By ratio. He had 15
58.
180s. John Henderson did get more, but he had the luxury of more matches. He had 3 days of play to get his total of 21 together. Could be a left-handed
50.
180. Sometimes it can get frustrating this game because when you've had that situation where you've thrown a couple of really good darts and they're right on the wire in the corner of that treble 5 and you're only getting 15 points.
140.
One of the things that brings us back to this game so often. The line between greatness
100.
and nothing are so close to each other, literally next door. Third 180 for Neil Duff, who's
140.
just
Neil Carr 46.
touched the afterburners. And it's tops.
Game shot in the
That-
match. Neil Duff.
Wraps up our group stages. We know our 4 players, we know who's through to the semi-finals, and in a moment we will let you know who will be playing who and who's going to be throwing first. But that is another success for Neil Duff, a 4-2 victory over Reece Colley.
Then Neil Duff rounding off our group stage action here at the MODUS Super Series. We're going to take a short break, so enough time for you to make yourself a quick cuppa and maybe even something a little bit stronger if you so like. And we'll be back with you from 10 p.m. here on Sporty Stuff TV. A very good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live lounge here in Portsmouth for the MODUS Super Series, where it is finals night here in week 9 of Series 3, and we have made it all the way down to the final 4, where in about an hour and a half's time we'll be etching another name into the Champions Week Roll of Honour. And what a Roll of Honour we've got so far. We've got some of the most precocious young talents in the game in Owen Bates, some legends of the sport, the likes of Jelle Klassen and Steve West, all in the mix, vying for that spot and that £20,000 top prize on May the 6th. But to get there, they have to qualify through Champions Week, and that is exactly what we have seen so far this evening. 6 matches in our pool stages to get all the action underway, to get to the final 4 that we have got to now. And describing all of the highlights from our first 6 matches, here's Matthew Edgar and Chris Mason.
The superior player. Of course, this is just a best-of-7 race.
Game shot on the second leg.
There's a perfect
Lukas
example of
Wenig.
that, because that's a 14-darter and a thing you can actually
72.
contact Matt direct on Instagram.
Game shot on the match.
Well, he's been here before on a Saturday night. He has won on a Saturday night, and that's the perfect start for John Henderson to get people scrutinise and essentially look for issues with that. And I'll just pause for a second. It's Darren Johnson on a 130. I said that was his strength, and he just provides us with a big 130 finish. That's 2 from 3 on the doubles.
Tops. Complete the job. Trailed 3-0.
Game shot
Wins
on the
it
match. Neil Duff.
4-3, and Neil Duff in 10 minutes or so has gone from being pretty much out to very much in here. Event, but it was the history around it and the names previously on the trophy. For Andy being from Portsmouth.
Game shot on the third leg. Lukas Wenig.
Leg there.
Shot really, because legs can quite often come into play in these mini groups.
Game shot on the match.
Absolute
Lukas
class.
Wenig.
Took a moment to reset.
Game shot on the fifth leg. Darren Johnson.
Hopes alive of making the semi-finals.
To stay there for double 11,
80.
and he's out.
Reece Colley 76.
Match start. Oh, this has been where he's excelled in this match. He's found the 60. Can he find the double 8? One in hand. Oh, and he makes the adjustment. And it is Reece Colley.
I wonder if, though, because he does have a bit of pain in the ankle, that maybe he's not moving as much as he normally does. He does have an unusual rock in action, but it's a ball for Chris Gilliland. That is a fantastic finish when he's just been getting pummeled despite playing so well. Ball 25, ball.
Game shot on the match. Chris Gilliland.
Chris Gilliland departs us with a victory. John Henderson, despite defeat, does qualify.
Highlights from a dramatic start to our Saturday evening session here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. Chris Mason, Macias himself, is with me up here on the balcony to assess what we see. So let's begin by delving into the results from this evening, because right up until pretty much the very last dart of Group 1, there was that possibility of a 9-dart shootout.
Yeah, it didn't disappoint. It was a real dynamic group, and just the way it's played out, got to feel a little bit for Darren Johnson, losing both of his matches 4-3. But again, we've seen Neil Duff dig deep, 3-0 down, 4 consecutive 180s in 4 consecutive legs, showing some absolute quality and some flashes of brilliance from Colley. And incredibly, you've just told me, Lukas Wenig on the back of that last result with Chris Gilliland, he thought he was out, and Chris actually had to tell him, no, you ain't going home, you're in the semi-final. So maybe he'll have a mentality of free rolling, you know, when you think you're out but you're in, you can play with a bit of freedom. And I think to get the very best out of Lukas Wenig, that's what he's going to have to do.
He's going to have to be pushed to the max. As for John Henderson, he just seems to have this love affair with Saturday nights.
Yeah, he's very much like Matt Clark. They've had 2 weeks here, and on both occasions, both have qualified. Of course, Matt Clark went so close to winning it, edged out in Champions Week to Raymond Smith. But maybe John Henderson can go one better and not only win tonight, but go on to win Champions Week.
What was your assessment of Reece Colley in the group matches?
Yeah, I like Reece. I've known him since he was a young kid. He's got that lovely free-flowing action, big scorer, but can doubt himself, I think. I think that's the main thing. He can get a little disappointed too early in games, but you know, we know he's got a high ceiling. We've seen him hit some tremendously high averages, especially down in Southampton. And you know, if he can replicate those kind of numbers at his very best, he's got every chance.
So let's round up then the tables, and by doing that we can then tell you how the semi-final lineup stacks up. I would say top two go through from each group. John Henderson and Neil Duff being the group winners, so what they're going to get is the advantage of throw when it comes to their respective semi-finals. So Lukas Wenig and Reece Colley, if they're going to go through, they're going to have to find a break at some point.
Yeah, and that's massive, I think, for Neil Duff having the throw against Lukas Wenig by virtue of winning Group 2. And, of course, Henderson winning Group 1 means he plays the runner-up in Group 2, which is Reece Colley. And, again, in a race to 4, having the darts is a huge advantage. We've had days where we've seen it almost go through the card, where the player on the left with the darts wins the matches. But of course this comes with extra pressure and extra tension. The players playing for not only the £5,000 first prize tonight, but that opportunity to win £20,000 in Champions Week.
Let's have a look then at the fixtures in full. And when we look at it in full, we look at that semi-final fixture bracket, what you've got there is players that are used to big-time darts, used to darts under the biggest of duress.
Yeah, experience against inexperience at the highest level. You know, John Henderson, a proven winner, a winner on TV, winning the World Cup, and Neil Duff, a current world champion. So yeah, it's such a contrast, inexperience. And listen, even at this level, we're under the lights here. We've got a crowd in. They're playing for a lot of money, and you know that £20,000 obviously for Henderson and Neil Duff wouldn't be a career high paycheck, but you'd certainly think for Vennig and Reece Colley it would be.
Well, you look at the fact that these players, sometimes we talk about semi-final nights, that this is the biggest night of their career. They've done good things, but maybe not achieved it on the big stage. You look at all four of those players, they've won stage titles. Yeah,
absolutely. For Reece Colley and Lukas Wenig, it could be a game changer. You know, winning tonight could give them that bit of belief, something that's maybe missing from both. You know, Lukas Wenig has only been around sort of 4 years or so, sort of probably struggled with not getting a tour card. We knew Reece was desperately disappointed not to get a tour card, but maybe they weren't ready then. A win here might make them ready going forward.
So our first semi-final of the evening sees John Henderson up against Reece Colley. As I say, John Henderson with his love affair for Saturday night. As for Reece Colley, he was desperately unlucky not to be there last time. We were both here that week when Jared Cole hit that 130 finish to basically knock him out. And I just feel like when he was here this week, they felt like there was a bit of unfinished business of this competition for him.
Yeah, and a little bit more maturity, and that's maybe what he needs in his game. Like I say, still a young man in this sport for sure. And yeah, he does have a little bit of a different look about him.
And I tell you what, this crowd have been enjoying it tonight, haven't they? Proper got into their darts.
Yeah, and it's nice to see. It's a shame there's not a few more in, but we're slowly getting them out there, and we're slowly getting a lot of regulars now. That's the thing, and eventually that's what we want: 100 regulars, and they can come and enjoy the action, as you can.
In a couple of words, your winner tonight?
No, I can make a case for all four, but the obvious one would be John Henderson, just on that experience. But I would not be shocked to stand up here with you at 11:30 or on that stage and any one of the four win.
Well, we have got a fantastic semi-final lineup for you on this Saturday evening. What else would you want to do of your Easter Saturday and have an excellent night here at the darts? Yeah, I know, it was bad, wasn't it? Well, we're about to get underway of our first semi-final. Chris Mason's going to make the dash down to the commentary box to join Matthew Egger. Hello, Matt.
Good evening, Henry. Thank you. First semi-final, first chance to get themselves booked into the big match of the week. The one that is the £5,000, the match that carries the place into Champions Week, a match that John Henderson has already won not too long ago. And Chris Mason says about the experience of John Henderson, there are not many stages that John Henderson has not played on. He's played on both of the World Championship stages, on the WDF and the PDC side. Iconic venues, Alexandra Palace and Lakeside places.
Thank you, ladies
Reece
and
Colley
gentlemen. First leg, John to through first. Game
will
on.
no doubt want to be going as well. He will be ticking one of those venues off the list very soon, though, because Reece Colley did win that British Classic up at Bridlington last year. That is a gold
60.
ranked event. And on the WDF Tour, when you win one of those gold ranked events, you get your golden ticket straight through to the World Championship. So he too will be
100.
having one of those iconic venues on the CV.
I do believe a regular of the Super Series, Lisa Ashton, she did the same thing, didn't she? She won one of those gold
95.
events. So Lisa back to Lakeside for a potential 5th world title.
140.
She will have a work cut out, no doubt, because there will be a certain defending world champion in Bo Greaves, who's
59.
going to certainly want to catch Lisa Ashton's 4 world championship titles, and I've got no doubt she'll probably go past the 4 world titles if she
57.
continues to play.
Go past 14.
She could be the Phil Taylor of the ladies'
28.
game.
Well, I don't recall another player. I know the
84.
Women's Super Series is still in its infancy, but she's absolutely dominated, hasn't she? What did she go 60-odd games without defeat?
75.
I'd like to win 60-odd
Reece
games
Colley,
in a year.
120.
I'd like to win 60 games in my career. This was the feature of Reece Colley earlier on.
100.
Well, we were concerned, and we did explain the importance of winning the group to get the throw in the semi-final.
43. Reece
However,
Colley, 20.
Reece Colley is going to get that needed
Each
breaker
on the
throw
first
in leg 1.
Reece Colley.
Advantage, Reece Colley.
Slow start there for John Henderson, who until this
Second leg
game for the
reaches the
evening,
first.
averaging
Game on.
92.85 and has recorded the highest average of the night as well. That was the
100.
very first game of the night when he took on Lukas Wenig. That was a heavyweight tussle of darting powers, a 94.3 average in that one.
49.
He is a long, long way off that at the moment. And Reece Colley at the moment will be more than happy.
Yeah, and
60.
again, experience here. He's just not got to try and force the issue. Not got to worry about what John Henderson is doing.
100.
Just feels a bit late at the moment for John Henderson, doesn't it? He's always had that rock and that movement, but it's as if
85.
he's going a bit too far.
So he does have an issue with the foot, and it is the
83.
weight-bearing foot as well. With that rock, it will take some stick.
85.
It doesn't always sight itself straight away. Sometimes it can come even a couple of hours later, and that's what may be happening here for John Henderson.
137.
He's a battler. Even if he was 3-0 down and Reece Colley had a double, he would stick in there.
45.
We've
John
seen some
Lukas,
big turnarounds this week.
132.
One of them came in our second game this evening. Neil Duff turning round a 3-0 deficit against Darren Johnson.
Ooh, can he break back with a showbiz shot? Already seen a 1-2-5
107.
tonight from
Reece
Gilliland.
Colley, 126.
Would have been on par. Trouble 19 and Bull. Gets the Trouble 19.
101. John Lukas, 25.
So many different routes for this 25, and John opting for the 1-12.
19. Reece Colley, 25.
Is Colley looking downstairs here? 17 for the 4s. double his lead.
Game shot on the second leg. Reece Colley.
The Colley massive are happy. Reece Colley will be elated.
Colley would be jolly. 2-0 to
Third
the
leg
good.
John to third first. Game on.
Oh, there's plenty more in the locker.
43. $85.
Best finish we have seen so far this evening. You are just joining us, is a 130. That was by Darren Johnson, who was
100.
eliminated from group number 2. Colley just
John's last score was 100, not 85.
checking the scores here.
Of course, Darren Johnson had the highest finish of the week. A magical 170.
140.
Good composure that there from Reece. Noticed a error on the scoreboard and just waited while it got corrected and then fires in a big 140.
140.
Big John replies with a 140 of his own.
100.
I mentioned as we came into this game the experience of John Henderson playing on all those big stages, but had quite a bit of success on there. The best run he had
41.
was in 2017 in the World Grand Prix. That's the double start, double finish. Remember that week? That's the week he actually beat Michael van Gerwen, when Michael van Gerwen didn't
100.
lose that often.
Yeah, he was in that incredible spell of dominance, wasn't he?
137. Reece Colley 76.
Much better for John Henderson, but Reece Colley could put himself a leg away from the final.
36. John Carl 40.
Won't be too concerned, because if this does go in, which I expect it to,
Game
it
shot on the
does.
third leg.
it's
John
only a hold
Henderson.
of throw, so Reece Colley still has that all-important break.
Fourth leg Reece to throw first. Game on.
John Henderson thought it was his darts.
$24.
Reece will wish it was.
Yeah, after that. Absolute disastrous start, and invites
83.
Henderson to get that all-important break back.
180.
What you can do is right the wrongs. He's done that.
180.
Beautiful.
It is getting hot in here.
99.
What he's starting to find now is John Henderson.
174.
Another maximum visit there for John Henderson. 3 big power trebles. Opting to switch over to the 18s.
64.
I like that liner because it is a maximum. It's the maximum amount he was aiming for, and he hit it. Tops for a 12 darter. And the
24.
break back.
Reece Colley 98.
Stunning sequence of visits from John Henderson. 180, 174.
Reece Colley has to stop this attack from John Henderson. Henderson nodding along. He expects.
Game shot on the fourth
That
leg. Reece Colley.
is quality from Reece Colley. John Henderson was making a move. He was trying to take charge. If Reece Colley would have missed that, Henderson levels up. He's got the throwback. He's back to being favourite for
Fifth
the
leg John
match.
to
Yep.
throw first. Game on.
Great composure from young Reece Colley. And there through the kitchen sink at him. 180, 174. Missed tops for the 64, but 180, 99
100.
ton and a 98 out for a 15 dart hold. For Reece Colley puts him just one leg away
45.
from a place in the final. He has been a fascinating end to a Really enjoyable week.
140.
Far from over yet.
That big shot, though, just gives
85.
Reece Colley a bit of a cushion. Just means he's got a couple of legs, a couple of opportunities to get the final leg. A bit of
95.
breathing room. Just makes these big hits that John Henderson is hitting just not land as heavy.
Agreed. Almost riding the
100.
shots.
$60. 100. John Lukas 106.
To go over to the 18s to try and leave the
98.
double 16, and the reason was because that first dart was stood up. If you notice, he had to go right over to the right-hand side of the hockey there to get past that first dart and find the treble 20.
97. John
There will be
Lukas
more
8.
darts. John Henderson at the double. He's 1 from 6 so far. Can't afford to give Reece Colley a shot at this 74.
4.
But he
Reece
does.
Lukas 74.
This has been part of his MO all night, hasn't it? Been taking these with some ease. Oh, he's going to have to do it the hard way. 63. Make sure the 13, young man. And he did. Chase the treble. Wow.
49.
Weight
John
of
Lukas
dart.
4.
Perfect. Line marginally out.
Good job the wire's not
Game
painted,
shot
or
on
would
the
have to be
fifth
getting the
leg.
paintbrush out to
John
touch that one back
Henderson.
up again. That was a good effort, and then John Henderson just recomposes and keeps himself alive in the game. This could
Six
be the
leg
leg
Reece to
for
throw
Reece Colley.
first. Game on.
He has the advantage of throw.
Of course, there has been a European
125.
tour event on this evening. Real friend of the Super Series, Robert Owen, edged out 6-5 by Liam
140.
Lawrence. Two real old campaigners locked horns, though. Beaten
55.
against Whitlock, winning 6-5. Barney edging out Ian White 6-5.
140.
Continues tomorrow if you fancy some darts on our day off.
This is quality, though, from John Henderson.
140.
Just watch Reece Colley throw a match dart at the ball. And then he's open 140, 140. He's got to keep this going, though, because Reece Colley is not slouching in this leg at all. He's looking at that 15 dart leg here, Reece Colley, which, when you've got to throw a
45.
15 dart leg, forces your opponent into a 12, which John Henderson now cannot do. So this is big moments and advantage to Reece Colley.
100.
The option of ball there to leave 76. Would have meant, well, if he'd have hit a 25, it would have left 76, which meant it would be one dart at
100. Reece Colley
double.
81.
With 81, you have to hit a treble to get a dart at a double. Otherwise, it's one at the ball.
He could have used the 19 as well to leave 82. But he will get a dart at the double.
68. John
82,
Lukas
obviously a
76.
much better shot, the 25-17. Or the double 16. It still gives you a chance to get the treble as well. John Henderson doesn't need a treble in this combination. He just needs the double 20.
Game shot on the sixth leg.
Well,
John
we spoke
Henderson.
about Reece Colley's clutch finishing. How about that one? A match saver acknowledged by Reece Colley. Henderson gets the break back, and we'll have the darts.
Seventh and final leg.
in
Johnson
the
to
decider.
first. Game on.
And he's just continuing to find those big power
137.
trebles. After nearly 2 legs, his average was down by the 60s. You would have felt the worst.
In 6
85.
and a bit legs, he's hit 14 scores of a ton or more. Colley has hit 15.
42.
You're not going to get many opportunities in this situation, Reece. This will be it. Needs a big treble.
44.
That might be the beginning of the end here. John Henderson isn't making too many errors at the back
100.
end of this match.
No, it's been relentless and ruthless. Needs a max. 140 minimum. Gets a 140.
140.
Gets him right back in the leg, only 10 adrift. Plus these.
Oh, this is a bit awkward.
28.
A bit awkward now.
Wow. Where has that come from?
95.
Going to be a grandstand finish, this one.
Is it going to be one with a grandstand
44.
checkout?
Reece Colley, 137.
Advantage Reece Colley here.
Massive.
Much as you like to take it, you feel one treble would be enough. 77. John Henderson is nodding. He thinks it's going in. Double 16. For a place in the final.
121.
Sure
John
45,
Colley,
32 on
150.
77. And he's going to be back at double 8.
60. Reece Colley, 16.
For a place in the final.
No score. John Colley,
Apart from
90.
being in, those two couldn't be any closer.
I think you can tell who's here to support Reece Colley as the people in the back have the hands on the head the same way that Reece Colley does. He's had 4 match darts. Needs John Henderson to miss the ball to get another one. Oh, and he
65.
scraped the paint
Reece
as well.
Colley, 16.
Second bite of the cherry.
Drama.
No
Tension.
score. John Colley, 25.
No application. John Henderson for his second weekly final.
$13.
Oh, not one of
Reece
Reece Colley's
Colley,
darts
16.
have gone inside the double 8. He is just not attacking the double. He's throwing it in the general direction. You've got to go for it, son.
7 match darts so far for Reece Colley. That could be a good guide. Hit the barrel and gone the wrong way, and that one's
John
gone
Colley,
inside.
12.
10 match darts for Reece Colley. He's had his opportunities, and you feel that might be game over for Reece.
Yeah, I don't think he'll get another go. And he
Game
won't,
shot
as
in the match,
somehow
John
John Henderson takes his place in the final. Commiserations to Reece Colley. Will be back, I am sure. There are the numbers, obviously. With all those missed doubles, the averages came tumbling down, more so for Reece Colley, who was averaging in the late 90s before having 10 darts for a place in the final. When we come back, Neil Duff takes on Lukas Wenig.
This is the MODUS Super Series. 182.
Wow, what drama we have just seen here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth as Reece Colley has missed a dozen darts to reach the final here at the Super Series. It came and went. And John Henderson is our first finalist here in week 9. He won the last week of qualification, the last series, and he could be oh so close to emulating Matt Clark in becoming a Super Series Champions Week returner. That was our first semi-final. Our second semi-finals to come very shortly. But before we do that, it is time for Checkout of the Week. And we kick off with the biggest fish in the darting sea as Darren Johnson reeled in this 170 against Lukas Wenig. From the big fish to its little cousin, the 160, which was nailed by John Henderson. He had to double check that dart was in. He might as well have thrown this quickly as well because it was dangling like a loose tooth. As for Chris Wickenden, it was his debut this week at the MODUS Super Series. We've seen some good stuff from him today on the ADC Tour. You check out this 156 to save the match against Vitislav Sedlak. I think we're going to be seeing more of him soon. As for Ryan Murray, much like you, he missed out on qualification on legs difference from Group C. He notched his 157 checkout against Chris Wickenden to send the game to a decider. As for Dan Reed, he took out this 161 against Neil Duff. Up, down, into the middle of the diddle, and Dan Reed providing our last checkout of the week. You can vote for whichever one is your favourite. Vote now via Twitter. The handle you need is at MSS Darts, and you can vote for that up until the end of this second semi-final when we will reveal the result before our final. Well, our second semi-final is about to get underway. It sees Neil Duff, the reigning WDF World Champion, in action. He takes on Lukas Wenig, two players who know exactly what it's like to be in the winner's enclosure in recent times. And they know their task in the final, should they get there, is a clash against John Henderson. Neil Duff has had so many close shaves with Champions Week in the past years. We're looking to get over the line. As for Lukas Wenig, is his second appearance here at the Super Series. Will it be a second time lucky? And the first time we would have had a German player make it through to Champions League. Well, we are ready now for the action to get underway, so let's not keep them waiting any longer and head over to the commentary box where Matt Edgar is with Chris Mason.
Thank you, Henry. And another fascinating tie awaits. Who do you fancy in this one, Matt?
I can't really make a prediction on this one. I've been sat during the break looking over the stats and the numbers to see if there's any clues in there. One thing I did find that I was mightily impressed with actually was the finishing stats of Lukas Wenig that again seem to have gone under our radar. We seem to just miss certain things with Lukas Wenig. Moments of brilliance.
Ladies and gentlemen,
He's only
perfect Neil to throw
thrown 10
first.
darts at a double tonight. He's hit
Game
6
on.
of them in percentage terms. That's 60%. And when we add that to what we saw in his qualification group, which was Group B, it gives us a checkout percentage
140.
of 42.46.
Wowzers. Now, of course, you weren't
81.
here for Group A, which was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I had Ben Durrant in with me. But here's a very interesting
60.
stat. Monday, Lukas won 4-2 against Neil with a 98.4 average. Tuesday,
85.
theme continued. Lukas Wenig winning 4-3 this time with 50% on the doubles. On Wednesday, did the treble over Neil.
45.
Winning 4-3 again. Does he have his number? Or will the enormity of the situation be the difference between the two?
95.
So we want to talk in headlines and in the new modern way of regurgitate or receiving information that people want, where they just want headlines or quick, snappy 8-second bursts of information. The headline there is, he's not beat him this week.
Yeah.
83. Neil the car.
So you had it both ways there. Those that like a bit of context and those that just want the headline. Headline here is Neil Duff is 1-0 up with a lovely 116 finish. His first tumpless out of the night.
Second leg, Lukas
He continues to check out at that ratio as well that we've seen for the week, that 33%. In fact, he is bang on what we say, 33.33, which is
100.
until that point, 8 hit out of 24 darts thrown at the double.
He 140.
He is warming to the task here. Growing into the evening.
He's grown into the week, hasn't he? So far, when he's
134.
asked the questions, he's had the answers.
60.
Well, he's grown into the evening, but he had no other choice. He was 3-0 down to Darren Johnson, playing, well, I'm going to say he was playing terrible.
Yeah.
He looked like he weren't ever going to win a leg, and then he hit that last start in hand at double 10, and then went on to win the next 4 legs, hitting a 180 in every single one of those legs. Then went on to beat
55.
Reece Colley 4-2.
144.
And you've said all week about the bounce back ability and the resilience.
56.
Yep.
I said it's more the range that we're getting a bit of wavy performance, but he seems to do the right things when he needs to.
100.
Certainly this week he has.
88.
Well, that range has been reduced, hasn't it, this evening? And it has to be said that that range was reduced in the
Game
final
shot on the second
spells
leg.
of
Lukas
Group
Wenig.
C, as Lukas Wenig responds to the 15-dart hold by Neil Duff with a 14-dart hold.
Third leg, Neil to throw first.
Equally as clinical in the finishing department. An 88 checkout in 2. This should be a 13.
60.
Lukas Wenig, average in qualification was 91 in getting through to today. On the day here so far, he's averaged around about 88. His 12-month average is 89.15.
55.
So he's pretty much bang on par. But that par is such a good level.
Playing to type, which is why we look at these larger samples.
Hello.
Well, we've seen Reece Colley miss the double 12. And Lukas go one better.
Lukas
I just saw a guy in the crowd about to go to the toilet. Is he about to regret that moment? Nearly. You certainly won't be going off at that moment, would you? If someone's about to hit a 9-dart leg. Have we ever had a 9-dart leg with a crowd in? I don't think we have yet.
No.
There's a first that could be coming up. Connor Heenan, I'm sure, will be coming back over to try and get that one first.
Getting shot on the third leg.
11
Lukas
darts
Wenig.
to back up the 14 in leg 2. And more importantly for Lukas, that is the break of throw he needed. Of
Fourth leg, Lukas to throw
crowd are going to
first.
be
Game on.
getting involved on the stage in future. Opportunities for the one member of the audience to
100.
win a very substantial amount of money. More on that in the near future.
I think I'll be Scanning the
100.
QR code myself to get myself down here to one of the evenings so I can have a little go at that myself. Am I allowed to have a go at that, or is there rules against it?
Oh, I've not signed anything to say I can't have a go at it.
180.
Maybe this man's going to have another go at the 9 at some point tonight. Yep, scan that QR code. All the details how you can join us here on a Saturday night at the Live Lounge. I'd love to have you here. I think once you experience it, you'll be a regular. It is a fabulous night at the darts.
81.
If you are not that tech savvy, so a little bit like me, then head over to www.dartshop.tv. All the details on
100. Look at your car. 140.
Tickets are £1. A knicker, a nugget. Oh, this is highly impressive
161.
from Lukas Wenig. We'll talk about the averages in a moment if he takes out the 40. He's not missed a double yet.
95. Lucas Car 40.
None of them missed a dart or double. It's been 100% on both sides.
Game shot on the fourth
He's
leg.
lost
Lukas
that
Wenig.
100% record, but the one thing he has got is the leg on the board. He is one leg away from a final and a match with John Henderson, which was actually our very first game this evening.
Game on.
Neil Duff averaging 95. He's had one dart at a double.
123.
3 180s in this game from Lukas Wenig. He got 3 in his opening couple of matches as well.
100.
Not hit a 140 yet.
He don't need a 140, he's just hitting loads of 180s.
55.
And 140s are overrated.
You can pile in the maxes. Why do you need the 140s? Neil Duff.
53.
4 of those. John Henderson, who is waiting in the wings in the final. That's been the feature of his game tonight, the 140s. That's what's carried him through. But Neil Duff, every time he's down and we start to think about writing him off, he just taps us on the shoulder and says, hang on a minute. I'm not rolling over and having my tummy tickled.
Neil the car 143.
That is something we have seen plenty of. Double 16.
127.
Been 3, 2, 3, and 6.
Look at the aggression and the determination here for Neil Duff. Lukas Wenig is way back on 290,
100.
but he wanted
Neil
that
the
done
car
there.
16.
He wanted it done in 12.
Well, it sends out a bit of a
Game shot on the
message.
fifth leg. Neil Duff.
Oh, it's not a 12. It is a 13 darter. Now he's just one adrift.
Six leg Lucas to throw first. Game on.
You've not had a leg exceed 5 visits. Opening leg was a beautiful 116 from Neil Duff for a 15. And it was a 14 with the 88 check out from Lukas. Then an 11 with the 2 180s in there. And then
31.
a 14 to give him a 3-1 lead. And that was a 13 from Neil Duff.
Neil Duff is in big trouble here.
44.
Opening with just 31 against the darts. Another stray dart. And after his first 4 darts, didn't even find the line of the 20. To hit 2 treble 20s there for Neil Duff. Good recovery, but is it enough?
133.
Again loses that line.
He's over-adjusted, hasn't he?
55.
That should be just about it for Neil Duff.
He's in the situation, it's now out of his hands. The only way he's going to get a shot now is if Lukas Wenig makes mistakes, which hasn't looked likely for a guy who is averaging 104.60, who is 75% on the checkouts. I think Neil Duff
100.
Even the man with the big recoveries, this might just be a bit too much for him.
Yeah. Like you say, he's relying on Lukas missing.
Game shot
and
on the
Lukas
mark, Lukas Wenig.
didn't miss. That was an absolutely outstanding match of darts. Winning legs for Neil in there, 15 and 13. The 4 winning legs for Lukas, 14, 11, 14 and 14. An end average, the highest we've seen this evening, 103.60. And even more impressive, the doubling in the semi-final. He has taken 4 from 5, 80%. So we know our final will be John Henderson against Lukas Wenig.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where we've made the final here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth, and it is John Henderson up against Lukas Wenig. We finish where we started as far as tonight is concerned. But before we get into that, let's talk about an unbelievable second semi-final. The standard was frightening, the average was frightening from Lukas Wenig, and you were saying to me on the way up from the balcony, the legs won. 14s and 11s.
Yeah, 3 14s and an 11 from Lukas. I mean, fair play to Neil Duff, 15 and 13, but there was just not a lot he could do. I mean, both players outstanding, and that's what we like to see, almost saving the best to the most important time, and that's what Lukas has done, and maybe he's timed his run to perfection.
Quite possibly for the brilliance in the second semi-final. It was the madness of the first semi-final between Reece Colley and John Henderson. We tallied it up in the end. It was 12 darts missed in the end by Reece Colley to get over the line. And I mean, those darts at 8-8, they're on the wire, but I don't know if it came across on the camera, but he didn't readjust or move across the oche. Was that something possibly that you could have picked up on comms?
Yeah, we actually did. Myself and Matt picked up on it. They were thrown in the general direction, and it's something you do under pressure. You sort of think, well, I know where it is. You're throwing off memory, especially with his type of throw as well. He's very much a thrower rather than an aimer, and the fact that I think the first 8 of those darts, not one of them were inside the actual single, which meant he was sort of throwing it on the outside and not aggressively attacking the double. And that's something he'll learn from. That's the beauty of the game. It keeps teaching you lessons. You've just got to be able to take them on board.
So our final is set. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in just a couple of minutes' time, but it's time to find out the result of our checkout of the week competition. Before we see the result, any checkouts that caught your eye this week?
One that didn't make it, the 125 from Chris Gilliland, I absolutely love. There's just something about seeing the 2 bullseyes go in, but the 170 from Darren Johnson, it's always a highlight. But there was one which is in this list, Chris Wickenden, because the 156 was the start of the comeback where he won 4 consecutive legs.
The credit to our producer, that was already in the gap by the time he hit it. If someone hits ball in the final, then this whole thing goes completely awry. But let's see what you at home thought was our checkout of the week.
Way with years ago, because the darting calendar was nothing like it was now. Oh, for the match. What a finish from Darren Johnson, showing us exactly what he has in the locker. Our first 170 of the week, 4 out of 6 on the doubles.
Any surprises the 170 got it?
Nah, it was always going to be, wasn't it? And to win a match, which is something we don't see very often. I think myself and Matt were talking about the actual titles that have been won on that magical number. So yeah, big moment for Darren.
Most certainly. Well, we're looking forward to next week here at the Super Series. It's going to be us two, Matthew Edgar back in the commentary box and the presenter's chair, although, to be honest, they don't really care about that, do they? All they want to see is that players line up next week. And look, there's one name that sticks out, and that's Luke Littler. Yeah,
already racking up loads and loads of titles at a very, very young age. Probably one of the most exciting young talents in world darts since Michael van Gerwen himself, and if he goes on to have half the career that Michael's had, he'd have done very, very well. But yeah, really exciting. He's lovely to watch, nice and quick, a real attacking player. But in fact, it's a field of youngsters in there as well, and newcomers to the Super Series. Really interesting to see Stephen Johnson, who's the son of Peter Johnson, of course, a player that, for those of you that were watching darts around the noughties, would be well aware of Peter. Kenny Nahan's another player that's new to us. Alex Spellman, which is another debutant all the way from across the pond. And Alexander Merckx, who we've already seen here a few times and looks very good. And Nathan Gervin, another very, very young player who is threatening to do big things.
I mentioned it on the balcony of Matthew Edgar last night. With Alexander Merckx and Adam Bold in the mix, you've actually got 2 of that Champions Week lineup from last time out. Yeah,
that just shows you the quality of Group A. That is a serious quality. And then looking at the rest of the groups, James Richardson, who won a title today, to actually earn another place back in Series 4. And Jason Askew, who actually is our average record holder from right back in the beginning. Let's hope he brings some of that form here. Mark Graham, who we've seen before, of course, and good to see Richard North back. It's been a while.
Well, yeah, we'll definitely hear about Richard North being back. James Richard, by the way, is so good. He's qualified for Series 4 twice now. That's how good he is. Well, we've got a thrilling final to look forward to here at the Super Series. It's going to see John Henderson take on Lukas Wenig for the £5,000 first prize. And this is the list they are all looking to join at Champions Week. It began with John Worsley all the way back in February time now. And last week, it was a man not too far from your neck of the woods in Justin Hood.
Yeah, he played very well, didn't he? He was another one. He was pretty much the outsider of the field. I think he was quoted at 7-1 on finals night, and he came through the pack, and all credit to him. Week before, it was great to see Steve West up there back to winning ways. Matt Clark doing Matt Clark things. Warby, we've always been excited about, one of the nicest throws in the game. Scott Taylor, who's playing fabulous. Yella Klassen, another one high up in the rankings in the WDF. Really excited about Owen Bates from again, another player from my neck of the woods down in Devon. And John Worsley just across the bridge. He was week 1 winner. The lineup is looking tastier and tastier.
Right, we've got some final ahead of us here. John Henderson against Lukas Wenig. Well, these two played in the first game of the night. It was Hendo that was a 4-2 victor. Does that play any part into it going into the final?
No, not after the way that Lukas has just played. He must be on the crest of a wave right now and probably can't wait to get back up there. I think for John Henderson, he's got to think, well, I'm free rolling, I should be out.
But John Henderson has this experience of winning a week, as we've mentioned all night. He's been to the £5,000 game. He's won the £5,000 game. And even in that game, he had to survive an onslaught from Niall Cullerton.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to lose a £5,000 game, very much like Matt Clark. It's, yeah, and that certainly plays its part in this final. But I think with Lukas, the way he played there, the way he just dismantled a very, very good version of Neil Duff, he's going to go into this full of confidence and probably will expect to win.
And if Lukas wins, the first ever German player into Champions Week.
Yeah, exactly. Shows where the game going, and it shows how far afield we're now looking for players here at the Super Series.
Well, we are very much looking forward to this. This is the final of week 9 here at the MODUS Super Series. It pits the Highlander up against Lukas Wenig. This man's going to make his way over to the commentary box to describe all the action alongside Matthew Edgar. Hello, Matt.
Thank you, Henry. And if you're feeling a bit of deja vu, this was the game that opened the night, and it's the game that is going to close the night as well. And if you remember earlier on in the week, stood up on the balcony and says, you don't often win things without facing a moment of adversity. John Henderson had that in that semi-final clash with Reece Colley. 10 mismatched darts that John Henderson survived. He got over the line and booked himself a place here in the final. He's done so by 4-180s, 14 scores of 140, which is give him that little bit of luxury around the doubles. But this
Thank you,
man,
ladies and gentlemen.
Lukas Wenig.
Best of order, please. First leg, it's John to through play. Game on.
Oh man, you do not want to be giving opportunities to. He has a turnover tonight on the doubles that I have never seen
40.
before for an evening. Across his matches tonight, he has only needed 15 darts at the double to convert 10. That is a turnover in terms of percentages
55.
of 66.66. John Henderson will not want to be giving Lukas Wenig 10 darts at the double for the match because he would lose.
85.
Yeah, he won't miss them. Of course, you've just got to add in the dynamics of the magnitude of the match. Not only is it £5,000 the winner, you'll be presenting the cheque to that winner, but also that place in Champions Week where they will be walking away with £20,000 plus appearance fees. So this is a huge game. Certainly one of the biggest matches Lukas has been involved in.
135.
It'd be a really good step forward as well for Lukas Wenig. He does average like one of the top 128 players in the world, which has significant
77.
because that is how many tour cards are available on the PDC Pro Tour. So he is throwing like a tour player.
41. Lukas Wenig, 170.
John Henderson started slow in his semi-final. It's Reece Colley. Starting slow in this one as well.
50. John Lukas, 141.
Do you think
97.
experience is more of a
Lukas
factor
Wenig, 120.
in earlier matches, or do you think because it's a final that just all goes out the window and it's very much
100. John
of
Lukas,
the moment?
I think it's variable.
Game shot in the first leg. John Henderson.
Lukas Wenig, shake of the head and a little smile. But I guarantee that smile won't be one of joy.
Second leg, Lukas to throw first. Game on.
I think it's one of those situations that it doesn't matter how many times you get there.
140.
Every single one of them just feels a little bit different.
Yeah.
They're their own individual battles for different reasons. I think last time John was here, it was almost a battle of
47.
redemption because he'd just come off the back of the Q School and the Challenge Tour, where this time I think he's more come to terms with the fact of not being a tour card holder, and this is now part of a journey in terms of getting back to there.
Yeah, so it's part of his process. And when you speak to John, that's pretty much how he's treating it. He said, well, there's no point me
60.
moping around for a season and trying to get ready for Q School next year. I'm getting ready for it now.
Reminds me very much of Josh Payne, who spent a lot of time down here last year. And all year he was just talking all the time about getting back to that Pro Tour, and that was the priority. There was nothing else. It was completely blink of vision.
21.
Yeah, and he used that year to just reset. And it paid dividends.
65. $31. Lukas Wenig, 56.
This has been his strong point this evening.
16.
But it does always
Right
feel
on cue.
different. When you're in these final games, it does feel a little bit different. Because it just means so much more.
Yeah, it's hard to explain the difference. That's why
128.
I wanted your
Lukas Wenig,
thoughts
40.
on it. But being in finals, it just feels like a different game.
Game
It's the
shot
same
in the
sport.
second leg. Lukas Wenig.
The board's are the same, the throw's the same, but the mentality is totally different. And we saw a couple of slow starts from Hendo. We've seen some games from him this week. They're rare.
32.
He's had him in the locker. We talked about when we were discussing his average, and his average in Group A was absolutely rock solid, but that included one game on each day where he had a stinker.
57.
Just thinking about what you were discussing there about what it's like in these situations. And
121.
there are many good examples that we can give or cross over to things that people may have felt or experienced, where you could be doing the same activity, but it changes the perception or makes you feel a bit more safer.
96.
And a good example would be like a game of poker. If you were just having a game of poker with points, it doesn't really matter too much. Oh, I'll go all in with these pocket sixes.
22.
But if all of a sudden those chip values represent a bit of money, you don't want to shove them all in. You want to be a bit safe. You want to see the flop. And that's kind of this situation as well here, that when there's so much riding on it, it does change the perception of what you're
34.
doing.
Great analogy. That was why I stopped playing poker, because people were shoving with far less.
80. $58.
Getting a call when someone's only got 2 outs.
You'd like Lukas Wenig at your poker table right now, wouldn't you? Because he is showing his hand.
Yep. That's something
134.
we discussed many times, and it's another aspect to his game that he will have to refine.
$45. John Ricard, 112.
Thing is, how you stand or how you move can even impact how you feel, positively or negative. There's been many studies about power body positions
42.
and how just standing in different ways for periods of time can even change your testosterone levels in the body. When you're
44. John Ricard,
acting
70.
negative, you're going to get that negativity.
What about Dolphins?
Game shot on the third leg. John
Nothing negative
Henderson.
about that dart for John Henderson, who's just grinding, and that shake of the head. Lucas is thinking to himself, well, where was
Fourth leg, Lucas to through
Lucas from
first. Game on.
15 minutes ago that was hitting them in off the lampshades?
You could have thrown them backwards and got them in at that period, couldn't you?
66.
103.60 average. 3 180s, 4 from 5 on the doubles.
Yeah, winning legs of 14-11, 14-14. I mean, that's
100.
world class.
But Hendo is Lucas in Vennig here at the moment. 2 from 2 on the doubles.
$100.
It was
84.
just a couple of months ago that I walked onto that stage with a giant novelty check in my hand and handed it over to John Henderson.
58.
Took his hand and said, "Awesome week, John." He told me how tired he was. He just came straight off the back of a challenge tour
100.
weekend as well to do it at that
was
period.
that was straight off the back of Q School itself, wasn't it?
A slightly lighter week this week because he won Group 8.
140.
But he may be pushed all the way in this one. It is a tense affair up there
43.
right now.
Lucas Ricard,
You can almost, well,
137.
it's palpable, isn't it? You can feel it. You can see it.
40.
18s was the dart there for me. Dart 2.
It's the reason why we're getting these wayward darts. It's the tension. It's the moment coming through. There is a golden ticket opportunity
75.
here to get through
Lucas Ricard,
to
97.
Champions Week. £20,000 on the line.
Beautiful first one. Should be.
77. John Ricard,
It's going
99.
well. Can put those in with a blindfold on. Tops.
And that last dart from John Henderson in the last
79.
visit where it slipped into the 1.
Lucas Ricard, 20.
Caused that 3-dart combination from a 2. Mentioning on Lukas Wenig's strong point is the doubles.
Game shot on the fourth leg.
He needed
Lukas
it there
Wenig.
and it came to his aid. He levels up the game.
My goodness, he certainly left that one late. And just having a stretch, you
Fifth leg, John to through first. Game on.
see him get tight.
Just flexing the biceps
60.
at the back of the stage. To be fair, if I was built like Lukas Wenig, I'd probably play shirtless. Get some sort of vest.
100.
To bring wrestling into it somehow, didn't you? You'd have the whole spandex thing going on, wouldn't you?
Covering himself in the old baby oil.
85.
Can't say many dart players would do that.
He is the most unlikely looking dart player, isn't he?
And so there won't be many dart players covering themselves in the old baby oil.
131.
Only on holiday, pal.
$85.
This is better, though, from Vennig. This would be the time to have the big leg, really, because
55.
it'd be the breaker throw, which would put him just a hold away from the title.
Yeah, we will say this is the perfect, I mean, leg one's the perfect time to break, but if you're going to break,
57.
this is the time, leg 5, because opponent has to deal with disappointment of losing the leg and then the fear of losing the match.
133.
John Henderson did this in the semi-final. He started slow, but then he really woke up into the match. In this situation, though, he's yet
98.
to hear the alarm bell. He's
82.
banging the snooze button.
Nails the ball. Going the double 16. Yeah, lovely double 8, similar to this.
66.
Not
Johnny
this
O'Connor,
time.
116.
I
98.
can't begin to
Lukas
tell you how
Wenig,
good that
16.
second art was to find the treble 20.
And how Lukas Wenig would have felt watching that dart being
Game
thrown.
shot on the 5th leg.
He has
Lukas
broken
Wenig.
the throw of John Henderson. He needed to do it at some point. He has. He is now throwing for the Week 9 title.
6th leg, Lukas to throw first. Game on.
The check for £5,000. A place in Champions Week. Almost
1 out
made
of them, 40.
perfect start to the leg, but I can assure you we'll take that all day, every day, and twice on a Sunday.
1 out of them, 40.
Well, what he did is he told John Henderson, you can't make a mistake. He just serves it straight back at him. This is a game of pressure tennis.
69.
You can see by his reactions the oohs and the ahs.
45.
Not punished. Potentially one good visit away from wrapping this Week 9 up.
134.
Certainly getting himself out of the drama of it and giving himself time and opportunity.
And that's all you want in this situation, and just some breathing space. It's far easier hitting a double for the title when your opponent is way back or not on a finish.
And that's what we've got here. He's not way back, but he is not on a finish. Lukas Wenig will have an opportunity to set up. And he does. He leaves a 1 dart after 12 darts thrown. This is a quality leg here from Lukas.
Yeah, 140, 69, and back-to-back 134s to leave
43.
double 12
Lukas
after
Wenig,
12
24.
for the title.
Game shot and
And Lukas Wenig
the winner of the MODUS
converts
Super
the
Series,
opportunity
Week 9,
into
Lukas
reality.
Wenig.
Lukas Wenig, our first German winner here at the MODUS Super Series. And it's Lukas, a worthy champion in the end. Well, the average is below par. That matters not. Those numbers won't be written on the check. £5,000 will be. Been a wonderful week here at the MODUS Super Series. Gonna get better next week. Introduction of some very, very hot property. Some super young talent on the show. Well, I think Henry is ready with our winner, and I'll hand you over to him now.
Thank you very much, Chris. Lukas Wenig, many, many congratulations on winning the week. First of all, how do you feel?
I can't believe, because this week was not as I normally, I don't know, should I say, I feel good because the week was not so good for me. I don't feel confidence at my games, and it was hard to play the games to come into the final night. Then I thought I was out. I had my jacket on, was on the way out, and Chris said, no, you're in. And maybe that was a change in my head. And yes, I'm glad to win this week.
In your mind, because you thought that you were out, can you almost kind of flick it and say, well, anything from here, because I thought I wasn't going to be in, is almost a bonus. You can kind of play with a bit of freedom?
Yes, of course. I think that was the head changer, and then the game against Neil was my best game in this week. I played fantastic, and then the game starts against John, and I was really confused with me, but it doesn't work at the beginning, and I thought, what the fuck? But
Apologies.
Sorry.
Apologies.
But at the end, I played fantastic, and yeah, it was good. Good enough.
It was good enough. You're also the first German player to qualify for Champions League. What does that feel to make that little bit of history for your country?
I'm really glad, because I hope that more German will play here and get the chance to play here, because the stage is so great for every player to get a pro, and I'm really glad to become the chance, and yes.
As our winner this week, you've got a presentation for a cheque of £5,000, and to do that, can we please welcome onto the stage primetime himself, Matthew Edgar. So there we go. That's the cheque to Lukas Wenig, our Week 9 champion. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to put you in the middle here, Matt, if that's OK with you. We'll just have a quick chat about what we've seen this evening and what a champion Lukas is. As he mentioned there, he thought he was gone. He was out of the equation, and then he pulls in that miraculous 106.
We heard the cheer when it went off, and it was sort of like a groan more than anything. It was like, does he think he's out at this point? And me and Chris Mason sort of looked at each other, but yeah, he obviously believes so, and you get a bit of a free roll then. That semi-final class, 103 average, really good.
Final word goes to you as our champion, Lukas. You're holding that cheque rather proudly, and I suppose next up for you, it's Champions Week here in a few weeks' time, where, look, this cheque may not be 5, it may well be 20.
Yes, it's so much money, and I can't believe, and yeah, we will see what happens.
Well, we look forward to seeing you in a few weeks' time. We're going to see you Monday morning, aren't we?
Bright and early.
We shall see you then. Week 10 begins on Monday morning, headlined by Luke Clear. But as far as Week 9 is concerned, it's the German, Lukas Wenig, who gets over the finishing line. We'll see you Monday.